WWF Monday Night Raw, number 371, July 3rd of the year 2000.
You tell me what's a thumbs up about this show as we get going.
All right. Hunter and Stephanie arrive. Here's a thumbs up thing. Hunter is finally admitting that it got to him that she let Chris Jericho kiss her. To which she, of course, is outraged. Jericho forced himself on me. But then, as she's explaining herself, he cuts her off because he spots Mick Foley and has to go argue for his title shot. Because that's more important.
Yes.
That is awesome.
The belt is always more important than the woman in this company.
As we found out last night in a row.
I guess so. So Foley says you will get a match against Chris Jericho, but not tonight. That's too important for tonight. It has to be on pay-per-view. Tonight you will get a title shot, but not against The Rock. It'll be against Rikishi.
What title does he have?
He's the Intercontinental Champion.
Since when?
The SmackDown before King of the Ring.
Okay. So we didn't see it. I haven't lost my mind.
No.
Who'd he beat?
Benoit.
Okay. Yeah. Rikishi beat Chris Benoit?
Yes, we talked about this on last week's show.
I've totally forgotten.
Okay.
Explain this to me again.
Well, Benoit...
How did Rikishi beat Chris Benoit? And why did this happen if Benoit's getting a championship match against The Rock at the next pay-per-view? That's the bigger issue.
Because in their world, they don't want one champion challenging the other. So they had to get the belt off Benoit somehow.
Okay.
And I don't know if they showed actually how Benoit or how Rikishi won. They just showed Benoit and Val Venus attacking Rikishi after the match.
This is bullshit.
Okay.
Am I wrong?
Well, anyway.
That tells you everything you need to know about 2019 wrestling. Vinny's like, I guess that's weird. Let's talk about the next wrestling match here.
Well, I mean...
This is the beginning of the end of this company.
Of wrestling?
What?
Well, no, but I mean, this was their biggest year ever in terms of popularity.
Okay.
And, by the end of this year, early next year, the year after, they fell and they never have achieved this level again.
Well, it's true. When you sit back and look at this, they set Benoit up for his title match by having him lose the title he did have.
To Rikishi.
Brian, Rikishi's a star on the show.
Dude, he's a star. He dances with Scotty 2 Hotty.
He wins all the goddamn time.
I know, but he's not a main eventer. He's never been a main eventer.
He's very close, though.
And later they try to make him a main eventer, and you'll never fucking guess what happens. It doesn't fucking work, even though he's the guy that killed Steve Austin.
It's not like he lost to Grandmaster Sexay.
Well, you're right, Vinny. That would have been dumber. But you know what? There's a bunch of guys where it would have been better for Chris Benoit to lose to them. The Undertaker, Kane.
They're not going to put
Kurt Angle.
They're not going to put the IC title on Undertaker.
The King of the Ring, for crying out loud. I could go on and on. What happened to Kurt Angle getting his title shot at the next pay-per-view?
He lost last week.
They blew that off like that?
Oh, after, yeah.
Dude, what's the fucking point of the King of the Ring? Another concept that died.
You get a crown.
Now you know why. All right, let's move on.
Eddie Guerrero versus Chris Benoit.
Okay, so let me repeat this. Benoit's getting a title match at the next pay-per-view.
Yeah.
He just lost to Rikishi. Now he's going in there with Eddie Guerrero, and he can't even beat Eddie Guerrero.
No.
Okay, am I the only one here that realizes how dumb all of this is? Nobody else cares because they're so used to watching 2019 wrestling that, this is just water off their back. This is shit.
I am numb to WWF booking.
Fuck.
This may have been where it started, but they've been doing it for so long. I'm just numb to it now. Now, the wrestling in this match was great.
This match was so awesome. I could watch this match 1,000 times.
Yeah.
The wrestling itself was great.
Yes.
They beat the shit out of each other.
I give the show a thumbs up.
Fun, hard-hitting, yet safe, believable.
Yes.
And then Chyna attacks. Chyna hits the ring, and she slaps Benoit. The referee rings the bell. Yeah. And then Jim Ross tells us that Benoit has been disqualified.
I believe Ross.
He must have made a mistake.
Ross fucked up.
Okay. Well, I don't even know anymore.
Doesn't happen often.
Based on the booking.
I believe he did there. So, yes, they had a great match. Chyna interferes with the DQ. And then Chyna and Eddie both get laid out. And in the most uncomfortable thing I've seen in some time, Benoit puts Chyna in the crossface.
Yeah, let's move on from that.
Yeah. So, after the break, the EMTs are tending to Chyna backstage. Eddie is pissed. Mick Foley comes out for a promo. Happy Mick Foley, Brian, is a thumbs up. He is out there entertaining himself.
We are reaching. Now, I will give you that when The Rock's music hit and Rock offered a handshake,
yes,
and Foley starts to do a promo, And he asks Rock what he thinks, and Rock is about to answer, and Foley pulls out a thunderous, "It doesn't matter what you think." And he celebrates, and he runs around the ring doing a victory lap, and Rock laughs. He cracks.
Oh,
Popped him.
He completely breaks.
This was the best Raw moment of the year 2000 so far. Now, granted, it was 2 minutes on a 2-hour show, so I'm not giving it a thumbs up. But it was unbelievably great. Foley pulled it off perfectly. The Rock's reaction when he got caught, before he even smiled, Foley screamed at him, and he was taken aback. And then he realized what happened.
Yes.
It was so good. And then Shane McMahon came out.
Yes, Rock composes
You don't
himself.
even have to watch this motherfucker twice a week, every week in 2019. I have to watch him on 3 shows every fucking week now.
That's awful.
I'm sick of it. And he wouldn't shut up on this show.
So yes, Rock wants Foley to name a top contender. At this point, Shane comes out. And what Shane actually said was, I should be the one to pick the top contender. And Foley says, it sounds to me like you want to be the top contender. Which is not what he said. So I don't know if Foley was making things up or if Shane missed his
Foley
cue.
was fucking with him because he's coming off an injury.
Yeah. So Rock agrees, and so for tonight, it is Shane McMahon versus The Rock.
God, a Shane McMahon main event
And we should add...
in 2000 and in 2019.
Like this would be absurd. This would be absurd on its surface, but on top of this, the last time we saw Shane, the Undertaker chokeslammed him off the top rope through a table at King of the Ring, and he has been gone since. So he's still limping.
You know, this week Paul Heyman made a decree that the fans are tired of an authority figure. I'm okay with Jolly Mick Foley authority figure.
He was great. He was great on the show. Rikishi goes for a walk. The WWF Slam of the Week by Twix is Chris Jericho dropkicking Triple H through a table on SmackDown.
You mean it wasn't the LOD?
It was not the Doomsday Device.
Doomsday Device?
For the 43rd
Wow.
week in a row.
That's
on
weird.
NWA, yeah.
That's a thumbs up. We had a new Slam of the
A new move.
Yeah.
Rikishi versus Triple H. It is so weird in the year 2019 to turn on a pro wrestling show and listen as the throngs of children chant "slut" at Stephanie.
And Stephanie Swallows.
Stephanie Swallows was also there.
Yes.
Very audibly, too.
Oh yeah, these
couldn't
kids
hide it.
were into this. Even the announcers like, what are they saying?
So let me get this straight. Rikishi beat Triple H via countout.
No, double count.
Double counted here.
That was a double count. I thought he made his way in at the last second.
He got in at 11.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's fine then. I won't rant.
All right.
Okay,
it
good.
was a double count out, and after the match, Jericho jumps Hunter from behind. Rikishi does the stink face. They cut to Stephanie McMahon's reaction shot during the stink face. Why must the camera be on Stephanie at all times?
Again,
She's a
Boss is
McMahon.
I know the
dude.
answer. I know the answer. It's
I'm surprised she didn't beat Chris Benoit to set up his title match.
wow. That would be uncomfortable.
so Hunter snaps at Mick Foley backstage. Foley, to satisfy him, says, "I will book Chris Jericho in a handicap match against X-Pac and the Road Dogg. But if you interfere, Triple H, you will lose your match against Jericho at the pay-per-view."
No questions asked.
And Hunter pauses, thinks about it, clarifies, Jericho versus X-Pac and Dogg in a handicap match? I can wait till the pay-per-view. Jeff Hardy versus Val Venus? Another good match.
Yeah, it was not bad.
Jeff hits a senton. Taz, the Lita and Trish are out there distracting the ref. Taz runs out, chokes out Jeff because they don't know what to do with Taz.
Let me recap it, okay? Because I want to make sure we don't gloss over this. They're having a very fine little match, and all of a sudden, Jeff hits a senton. Trish got on the apron. Lita took out Trish. Ref is distracted. Taz hits the ring. Taz chokes out Jeff. Val hits a big splash. Ref gets in to count the pin. That's 8 things.
Does
This have to be that complicated? And this was not the... If one match on the show was like this, it'd be like,
No, they're
all
all
right.
They're all like that.
Every single one of them is like this.
Terry is at WWF New York.
I was going to say, this is the first time Trish and Lita have mixed it up, and it led to a long feud.
Decades.
to main eventing Monday Night Raw.
Yeah. Terry is at WWF New York along with Rudy Giuliani. DX is very happy they get a chance to take out Chris Jericho. So remember I was saying Mick Foley's great? Mick Foley's got a cactus back there to remind himself of the time he was Cactus Jack. The cactus falls. He picks it up and hurts himself, and he shouts, "Ah, prick!" And then Pat Patterson runs up, and Foley says, "Hey, I was just thinking about you." I laughed.
Yes.
And I laughed.
That was a thumbs up.
And I laughed. Patterson begs for Foley to take pity on Shane, and Foley refuses.
And then he pounds him in the hand with his gavel,
Yeah.
He did.
which he didn't really hit his hand.
What?
I rewound it. It was fake.
They're workers.
But I loved every moment of that. That was 2 thumbs up.
Okay. DX versus Jericho in a handicap match. We are told that the Dudleys tore Tori's shoulder out of its socket. Her career might be over. As far as I know, it is.
I didn't know she had one.
Her career?
A shoulder?
Well, she was just out there all the time. Like, she never did anything. Occasionally, she'd do a move.
I remember her being around and the whole X-Pac Kane love triangle thing. I forgot how long it lasted. I assume that she does not come back. But we'll see. So Road Dogg calls Jericho Y2 gay.
She returns as the Black Ninja, who helped Raven retain the Hardcore Championship. Anybody remember this? Or is this a different timeline?
Vinny and I just looked at each other gobsmacked. I
I-
have no idea what you're talking about.
As I recall, there's Raven's there obviously in the hardcore.
Okay, so here's the update.
Yeah.
So she legit tore her labrum, and I don't know if it was because of the table or not, underwent surgery. She returns on Raw on October 30th of this year at WWF New York, where she slaps X-Pac. Callback to the King of the Ring. So then it says, Terry returned in January 2001 as the Black Ninja, a masked villainess in a black bodysuit. Thank you, Wikipedia. Make sure we get all the facts in here. The Black Ninja is, in fact, in a black bodysuit. She helps Raven retain the hardcore title. Raven's hardcore title feud with Crash Holly led to a feud between the Ninja and Molly Holly. Holly finally
that's a
unmasked
blank.
the Ninja, revealing her to be Tori. That's in March of 2001. And then her character was removed from television. That's the end of her career.
I forgot she had a run as the Black Ninja.
She had a run as the Black Ninja. Wearing, Vinny, a black outfit.
Black outfit.
Yes.
As I recall, her debut when she helps Raven is so dumb it was notorious. That's why some of us remember it, but nothing after that.
Well, fuck, it goes till March of 2001, so we're going to watch it here.
So Foley, Jericho comes out here. He has all business for this 2-on-1 handicap match. But then Foley appears, and you'll never guess. This may have been new at the time, but he says it's a handicap match, but it's not 2-on-1, it's 3-on-2. And the Acolyte's are Jericho's partner.
Advantage babyface.
As soon as
So-
he mentions the Acolytes, DX, they're appalled, but they also realize they're fucked.
Yes.
And so as soon as the words Acolytes come out of Foley's mouth, they both turn and they beat the shit out of
Yes.
Chris Jericho as quickly as possible
Yes.
before these two fuckers get down
That
here.
was great.
That was also 2 thumbs up. I'll
So
give you that.
The first 2 minutes of this was lots of fun action. And then the 2-on-3 heels get the heat on Farouk.
Well, yeah.
That was,
They're talented grapplers.
I guess so.
They got lucky.
Jericho steals the tag from Bradshaw. So between these two things, I'm thinking, okay, the Acolyte's going to turn on Jericho here. None of that happens. A 5-way breaks out, and Jericho pins X-Pac with a cabrata. This is all very weird and completely nonsensical.
Hey, I got a clean pin, so I'm not going to complain.
It worked in the building.
Of course, you can only do a clean pin in a handicap match on this show.
Yes, X-Pac.
One-on-one, that's not allowed.
X-Pac will only lose when he is a man advantage or disadvantage. Hunter is watching this backstage, throws a tantrum, tosses the veggie tray everywhere.
You know, Bradshaw gets a lot of heat for being Bradshaw.
I was going to say, yeah.
Man, his clothesline's awesome.
Oh, he was really good at a lot of things.
So
When he does the spot where he's got the guy for the follow-away slam, but he hits the big boot on the other guy first,
Yeah, yeah.
and that does the follow-away slam.
Yeah, yeah.
When he did that here and casually, easily looked behind him to make sure he did not throw one guy into the other,
Right.
sometimes he is great. And that was one of those times. Hunter and Steph leave. They are furious. Edge and Christian versus Undertaker and Kane.
This was not 2 thumbs up.
Well, it's not.
I will give
all,
them credit
but-
that they did do a non-title match that
Yes.
Undertaker and Kane won, and then actually gave us a championship match.
Last week, I was asking what the hell the point of it was.
Now we know.
The point of it was to set up this.
And what a setup, what a delivery.
Payoff. Yeah.
Undertaker and Kane beat the shit out of them, and then we got a DQ because Kurt Angle ran in.
Yeah.
They buried Edge and Christian. 2 weeks in a row now.
The entire tag team division, in fact.
Let's talk about the rub that they got from being in there with Taker and Kane.
They were
None.
rubbed into the earth.
This was shit.
They were rubbed into the earth in 2 minutes and 24 seconds.
Yeah.
And listen, I know people like Biker Taker,
Yeah.
but he's fucking giant Midian out there.
Well, that's
He just
strong.
lumbers around. He always wanted to be billed at $299, so he wasn't $3 But he's so fat at this point that they flat out say he's well over 325 pounds. He's standing on the apron gasping for air after doing like a quick spot. He looks terrible. This sucks. I stand by this.
You don't like the untucked denim shirt look?
Maybe he can
Homeless
prove me
Undertaker?
wrong a year from now. But right now, this is sad.
I think after he gets the haircut, it improves. The haircut and the heel turn help a lot. By the way, Taz also attacked Kane on SmackDown. So as I was starting to say earlier, they have no idea what to do with Taz. Just have him hit everybody.
He literally looks worse here 19 years ago than he looks today.
Yes.
He doesn't have the hole in the back of his haircut like he does today, though.
He might, just so long he
He's
can't
got
see.
some definition in his body that he didn't have back then.
By the way, after all this mess, this squash, and then Kurt attacking for the DQ, and that's it, Undertaker chooses this moment to debut the last ride.
Yeah.
The press powerbomb on Christian.
Well, it's a smaller man. That's the best way to do it.
I guess, but wouldn't you want to see her for like a big win?
Yeah.
Clips from the XFL press conference in Orlando.
Christ.
I can't wait to see him again.
Fuck. 19 years ago. The goddamn XFL.
Yeah.
Shane's all over television. Got Bischoff running one show.
Yes.
Paul Heyman's running a company, allegedly. The XFL's back. Toy Story's in theaters. I fucking could go on for hours.
Child's Play.
It's creepy.
Godzilla. Aladdin.
Godzilla's in theaters every 2 years.
He's got you there.
More often than Aladdin, I'll grant you that. So Michael Cole is interviewing Kurt Angle backstage. I'm not making this up. This is his question. Kurt, what have you done?
He's awful.
So Kurt begins to brag about all the things he's done. And then when Cole explains, no, you've angered the Undertaker, Kurt says, I was just helping out my friend's Edge and Christian. I did not mean to offend the Undertaker. I offer my deepest and sincere apologies. Dean Malenko versus Crash Holly.
They showed clips of Malenko versus Jackie on Heat, and it looked better than anything on the show.
Yes.
Yes. Although, well, it did. Sometimes you forget how small Jacqueline is.
Yeah.
Dean was he was Midian compared to her. Looked huge.
Dean is still coming out with women.
Yeah.
I've totally blocked this out of my mind.
Ladies' man Dean Malenko.
So they brought up the Radicals, and they end up giving Saturn a mop.
Right.
Eventually, yeah.
Eddie Guerrero's a ladies' man. Dean Malenko's a ladies' man.
Yeah.
And somehow Chris Benoit gets a championship match despite like losing all of his matches.
He lost one match.
That's what they did with the Radicals here.
Yeah. Anyway, Crash and Dean here was an example of a great match that nobody in the building cared about.
It only went like 2 minutes.
It was fun. It was a fun 2 minutes.
I'll give it one thumb up.
Crash took about 8 power bombs over those 2 minutes, and one of them finally pinned him. And then Ivory and Jacqueline attacked Dean.
Yeah. They got the Radicals, dude.
Who are probably still happier,
I'm sure they were.
So Dean's going to be feuding with women for a while.
apparently.
An angle that always gets over.
Oh, yeah.
Gerald Briscoe goes to appeal to Foley. You've got to throw out this Shane McMahon match. And Foley refuses. And as he's saying, I'm in charge, you got to do what I say, he says, give me a cup of coffee. Briscoe says, cream and sugar? Wait, no!
They're great.
They're great. Kurt Angle goes for a walk.
They actually showed the clips of Kurt Angle breaking Bob Holly's arm with the first moonsault he ever actually hit.
Really?
Yeah.
Oops.
That sucks.
I don't know if he ever hit one again.
I'm not sure he did actually.
He missed thousands.
I feel like he did in TNA.
he probably did at
But
some point.
I don't remember.
He missed a bunch. But yes, he tried a moonsault, broke Bob Holly's arm, and
Wow.
I remember this happening. I forgot that Bob got up with his broken arm and kept working the match.
Dude, Bob Holly,
He's a tough bastard.
he's a tough bastard, but he got off way easier than Johnny the Bull later.
That's true.
Yeah.
Who known Sparky Plug would have been such a badass?
Basically, yes. So Angle does a promo, advises NBA free agents, do not come here to Orlando. It stinks. I'm glad I broke Bob Holly's arm. He disrespected me He disrespected my crown. I demand a worthy opponent. Out comes the Brooklyn Brawler, which does not make Kurt happy.
No.
Then he's even less happy when Foley explains, this is not your opponent, this is your partner. These are your opponents. And out come the Dudley Boys. This match also had a lot of good wrestling. Mostly by Kurt, but all four guys look good. Taker's backstage watching all four guys be better than him. Highlight of the match, Kurt is like a big suplex or something. And he tags in Brawler, and Brawler shouts, "Kurt, I got him! Thanks, buddy!" And Dudley's beat him up, and Kurt walks out, and the Brawler gets pinned with the 3D. Test versus Godfather.
After he gets pinned, they give him the Bubba Bomb through the table, Vinny. How'd you miss that?
At this point, when the Dudleys put someone through a table, it's not even news.
Well, it is news because he went ass first through the table and his head bounced off the mat.
Well, that sucks.
Don't go ass first when you bump everybody.
Yeah,
Especially the Brooklyn Brawler should know better.
he should. He's
Don't bump ass first.
been doing this for a while. Test and Godfather. Clips of Lita pinning Trish with a moonsault on Heat.
They got clips of that match.
Yeah.
They got hose. Like everything that's happening before the match starts, the place is going crazy for.
Yeah.
And then the bell rings.
Sure.
It is Godfather versus Test.
Right.
Yes.
This place fucking went dead silent.
Yeah.
Well,
And they sat there and they didn't give a shit. And then Stevie Richards comes out and puts bags over the hose.
this was so stupid.
This distracts the Godfather.
Yeah.
There's
Well.
bags on my hose. And he is necked
Yeah.
and beaten by Test.
Brian-
This was not any thumbs up.
Brian, I agree.
Multiple thumbs down.
I do not give any thumbs up to this segment.
And this all took less than 2 minutes.
That's that. There's that.
The women not fighting Stevie Richards at all as he's trying to put bags over them.
They probably thought, hey,
Ridiculous.
free bag.
Free bag?
Free bag.
Okay.
Foley meets with Shane, tells him not to whine about his injuries, talks about all the explosives and barbed wire and ear tears off.
This was an incredible promo by
Yes.
Foley.
Yeah.
But then he turned into comedy at the end.
Because he's Mick Foley.
Dude, he should have just cut a promo on this guy about all of his real injuries and everything and what a pussy Shane was.
Yeah.
Instead, then he turns into, have a great match tonight. Ha. I didn't like that part. He was just cutting such a great promo. Why does everything have to be comedy all of a sudden?
It's Mick Foley.
Because Mick Foley is making himself laugh.
My problem with this show
Foley
right
is
now.
amusing himself, which is a trait I admire greatly in a man. Kevin Kelly interviews Steven Richards. Steven says there's appropriate and inappropriate dress, push-up bras and thongs instead of casual slacks and blouses is not appropriate. I know it's a free country, but when does freedom go too far? I'm not going to let it happen. The madness stops today.
He left out one thing when Stevie hit the ring or ringside area. They have this
Oh, it's music?
annoying.
Yes. The
Alarm.
worst. The right to censor music is the worst music of all time.
Yeah.
No, there's Wild and Young.
No, Brian.
No, Vinny.
Not entrance.
I know.
No.
I know you hated Wild and Young.
No, it's worse. It's much worse. But this is not good. I'm not saying this is good, Vinny.
Okay.
Do you understand? I'm just telling you that song is so much
Your
worse.
disdain for that song is
It's painful.
it's
It's wretched.
It's actually inhuman. This song is a noise. It's
That's not a song then.
it's an
Oh, you
alarm.
want to say it's not a song? That's
Okay,
that'll
thank
grant
you. Thank
but
you.
I would prefer to hear Wild and Young.
I'd rather hear
than
this
this
droning
noise
sound.
designed to irritate you deep inside your brain.
I'm
And-
irritated already watching the show. There's no change.
Why are you so scarred by that song?
It's horrible. It's fucking terrible.
Okay.
It's so tone deaf. It's like everything you need to know about WWE is that you thought that was a good song. I hate it.
Al Snow congratulates Steve Blackman on being the new hardcore champion.
Listen. Okay. This is one of those things where when I watched it,
Isn't that important?
yes it is.
No, it's not.
When I watched it, I was like, this should be funny,
Okay.
but Al Snow's there.
Sure. All right.
You know what I'm saying?
I hadn't thought of that.
I hadn't considered that point.
Listen, okay? I'm going to say something. This is actually not a burial of Al Snow. I'm actually going to put him over,
I
okay?
disagree.
All right, listen to me.
You're off to a great start.
What happened was Al is breaking up with Steve Blackman.
Right.
And he says,
Yes.
I've got a poem that I want to read about our breakup.
Yes.
And Steve wants nothing to do with this. Steve Blackman's hardcore champion.
Mm-hmm.
So Al Snow starts to read this stupid fucking poem. And meanwhile, legitimately, a martial arts movie breaks out.
Yes.
All of these villains start
Kai and
rushing
Tai,
Steve Blackman.
the Mean
Of
Street
course,
Posse.
one at a time. They don't all swarm him at once.
No.
One guy runs, gets backdropped into the trash can. One guy runs, gets hit with a stick. One guy
meanwhile-
runs. Steve Blackman lays out all these geeks. Al is just droning on his stupid fucking poem, and finally gets done, and Blackman comes back, and Al goes, "You weren't even listening." Okay. The thing with Al Snow is, Al Snow has a very specific sense of humor.
Hey, wait, you need to start over and say, I'm sure he's a nice guy.
I'm sure he's a nice guy.
There we go.
Al has a very specific sense of humor that if you think it's funny, then everything he does is fucking hilarious.
Okay.
But if you don't think it's funny, nothing he does is ever funny.
I see.
And this was like something that should have been funny, but somehow it wasn't funny at all to me. You know what I'm saying?
well, you
I
like
actually-
his sense of humor then.
I totally disagree with you because I've seen a number of Al Snow things that were just horrible comedy.
Yes.
Awful comedy. I thought this was really funny.
Okay.
I got a good chuckle out of it.
Especially the line, because he's the poem recites their entire history as a team.
Mm-hmm.
We then changed and tried it your way, without any luck. 2 Blackmans were boring. Boy, did we suck.
I mean, it's a funny poem.
Yes.
But I wasn't listening to the goddamn poem because
Well,
there's a martial arts movie in
There's
the
your
background.
problem. There's your problem. You should have been focusing on the poem. I laughed at this. Terry entertains sailors at WWF New York.
That's legit.
Excuse me?
That's what happened.
The fleet was in town.
Yeah. Shane goes for a walk. The Rock does every Rock promo ever, sticking boots up candy asses. Rock versus Shane.
Fuck. All this
At least it
fucking
went a
time.
minute, man.
All this time.
Did you want Rock and Shane to go for 10 minutes?
No,
and then do
but
a
you
DQ?
know what? I figured at least, like, you know, Shane's coming off an injury. Rock can, like, beat the shit out of him and make him suffer for
Rock
a while.
could have pinned Shane.
And then, not even pin him, but just, like, beat the shit out of him for a while.
Okay.
And then finally you do your stupid finish. They went 0 seconds.
It's pretty close. So Rock hits a spine buster and Benoit attacks with a DQ. And he locks in the crossface as Shane is fighting off the refs, and that's how they go off the
No, Vinny, that's not what happened. He locks on the
Actually,
crossface.
you're right.
He locks on the fucking crossface because it's going to be Chris Benoit versus Rock for the championship at the next pay-per-view. And Benoit is coming off a loss to Rikishi, I might add, and he couldn't beat Latino Heat in the opener. So my point is, they had to give Benoit something here.
Yes.
Shane couldn't leave well enough alone. He had to take a goddamn chair and start bonking Rock's shoulder with this chair. Like, totally taking attention away from Chris Benoit actually putting the crossface on this guy. I was like, fuck you, leave. Okay? You had your moment. Like, you had a match with The Rock. Go the fuck away and let Benoit do this because he's a fucking number 1 contender now. Right? Am I being an asshole?
That would have been better.
Thank you.
So finally, Foley comes out and they leave, and that's the end of the show. My music, Brian.
Yes, Vinny. Foul mood.
Well, it's going to get worse. We're going to talk about Nitro now. The finishes on this show were DQ due to interference, double countout, pin after interference, clean pin in a handicap match, DQ due to interference, clean pin, pin after distraction, and for the 3rd time in a 2-hour show, DQ due to interference. That is a lot of just send someone out there to hit somebody.
Yeah, that is correct.
WWF Monday Night Raw number 372, July 10th of the year 2000.
Why do you say it like that?
That's fun to say the year 2000. People may not remember, but once upon a time, the year 2000 was the distant future.
Yeah, now we're fucking old.
Yeah.
It's the distant past now.
It is ancient history.
How does that make you feel that it was at one point the distant future, and now it is in your distant past?
I have an even better example. I went to a 4th of July party on the 4th of July, and I saw my neighbors who they grew up across the street from me. And one of them, the last time I saw them, had just had a little baby girl. And she brought the little baby girl over to show it to our family. And it was my neighbor and the baby and me and my mom and a few other relatives. And the baby was just running back and forth in the bed, having a grand old time. It was adorable and sweet, and I've never forgotten it. And hadn't seen this neighbor in a while. I said, "Hey, how's your daughter doing?" They said, "Oh, she's 25.
Oh, god damn, you're old.
I am so old.
Holy smokes. Thank God I'm still young.
It must be nice. Anyway, WWF Monday Night Raw 372, July 10th of the year 2000, Brian. So Shane McMahon and Chris Benoit come out for a promo. Benoit did not have wrist tape on. And he looked so weird without wrist tape.
What, his arms look short?
Actually, they look longer.
Maybe that was the problem all those years.
He never should have worn the wrist tape in the first place. So, Shane says a lot of stuff that sounds bad in the year 2019 about Chris Benoit. Benoit challenges Rock to a non-title match tonight. He still wants the title match fully loaded, but he doesn't want to wait. He tries to tell a diarrhea joke about Mick Foley. It does not go over well. Rock finally accepts the challenge, and that's really it. And then Eddie and Chyna attack Benoit and Shane, and Benoit and Shane run away.
So I could have sworn that they were already going to have a match.
Last show, no, I don't think so. Because last week ended with Benoit attacking Rock out of nowhere.
I guess we just knew that they were going to have a match.
Yeah, we knew. I don't think it was announced.
Well, anyway, they announced here that, yes, they're going to face off tonight. Mm-hmm. And if Benoit beats The Rock one-on-one, he gets a title match at Fully Loaded, which, by the way, is in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So it's not a go-home show, but it's 1 week before the go-home show.
They are running out of time.
We're trying to figure out who's going to face the fucking Rock for the WWF Championship at a pay-per-view in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Can we get our shit together here? What's going on? I should add, by the way, that Benoit was never known as a very good promo, but he was a better promo on the show than probably 70% of the WWE today.
Times do change. That's true. We are told that tonight Val Venus will defend his Intercontinental title.
I didn't know he was the Intercontinental Champion.
What? This is news. You should tell me what's going on here. Mick Foley is not on this show. He is in Southeast Asia on a publicity tour, going to Kuala Lumpur.
We need to get some.
lands.
We need to get some publicity in Kuala Lumpur.
I guess they did.
I mean, I guess they did, but fuck, you couldn't send them to I don't know. There's nothing against Kuala Lumpur.
Right now, all our Kuala Lumpur listeners are so pissed off.
Yeah, all 0 of them. I mean, fuck, send them to a country that has money and people. No offense to Kuala Lumpur.
Too Cool versus TNA versus the Hardys in a 3-way. Having this match, everything's going fine. And then I don't know what happened, but Jeff hits the ropes, and he's running a Grandmaster Sexay, and Sexay does not do a move, nor does he dodge or duck. He just starts to dance, and they bump into each other really fucking hard.
All right, so Kuala Lumpur, 7.25 million people there.
That's not very many.
Nah. Officially the federal territory of Kuala Lumpur, the largest city in all of Malaysia. Are you aware of that?
Did not know.
Yes. Established in 1859. What do you think about that?
Fucking old.
Yeah. Postal code, 50,000 to 60,000. In case you want to send them a letter.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Trying to find out some of their economics here.
I got nothing to add about Kuala Lumpur, dude. I'm learning everything.
I can tell you more.
Untapped territory to me.
Dude, the record high, 101.5 degrees. Average high, 90.3 degrees for the year.
That's an incredibly small window.
Very, very hot place here in Kuala Lumpur.
Oh no! Okay. So the average hottest day of the year is 90 degrees.
Well, let's see. What month is it? July?
Yeah.
Okay. So the average high in July is 91 degrees. That's the average high.
Okay, that makes more sense.
The average low is 74.8 degrees. The record low is 68 degrees. I'll take that.
I was going to say, you're going to move, aren't you?
Yeah.
Now you know why Mick Foley
I take back everything I said about Kuala Lumpur.
Now you know why Mick Foley went to Kuala Lumpur. Anyway, Jeff hits a senton. Albert choke bombs him, puts Test on top. The Hardys are eliminated. Now let's think about this. One guy who was in the match, although he was not the legal man, but he was in the match, hit another guy in the match with a wrestling move, and then put his partner on top for the pin. Of all the bullshit we've seen on this show over the years, the announcers flip their lids over how unfair and illegal this is. Go crazy.
Illegal?
Yeah.
It's a fucking 3-way elimination match.
Yes.
Nothing's illegal. Although, as we learn later, apparently at this point in time, you could be disqualified in a 3-way. So all of you motherfuckers who, whenever I complain about this, you say there's no DQs in a 3-way. There was a DQ in a 3-way on this show. I saw it with my own eyes.
There was. It should have set a precedent.
Yes.
So Lita gets her hands on Trish. There's a huge brawl between the teams. Scotty goes for the worm, and my God, did this place go nuts for the worm.
Yeah, so when Taz grabbed him and prevented the worm,
he did.
He got twice as much heat.
He did. And then Test followed with the big elbow for the win. So
it's a very, very nice flying elbow, I might add.
TNA was a good team, man. I don't recall them being together very long, but they're two big, scary, athletic, mobile dudes who fit well together.
I feel like they've been around forever. I don't remember this being a quick team. Tess and Albert may be in line for a championship opportunity.
I believe that it said they would get the title shot at the aforementioned fully loaded. Easy for me to say. DX is backstage trying to calm Hunter down.
He's very upset that Foley's in Kuala Lumpur
He is.
and is still signing matches.
Yeah, specifically, he's upset that Chris Jericho has a match tonight against Road Dogg instead of Triple H. So X-Pac's job in this promo is to explain that they can't attack Chris Jericho backstage or interfere in the Road Dogg's match. If they do, Triple H will lose his match against Chris Jericho at the pay-per-view.
Yes.
And I guess he got the job done, because I did understand those steps and that message, but boy, was it a struggle.
It took a lot for him to get this out.
It did.
Because it didn't need to be this complicated, but that's what they love to do.
Maybe this actually was live, because this
could have been.
The take. Yeah.
Could have been.
Hunter warned Road Dogg, get the job done tonight or don't bother coming back here. Kevin Kelly tries to interview Taz.
I actually really like this because Taz has been interfering the last couple of weeks. And I'm like, why the fuck is Taz interfering? Like, first off, where's he been? Second off, why is he so mad? And so Kevin Kelly goes to interview him, and this is all Taz says. But it says everything. He says, so now you want to talk to me? I don't think so. And he leaves. That was awesome.
I would add two other details. The camera guy was laying down on the job here, literally. This is shot at a very low angle, looking up at both of them, which served to mask the fact that Taz is short. Can't hide it forever, but let's hide it when we can. So that's a plus. And there was also an extreme harsh light on them, leaving a very clear shadow on the wall. And when Taz leaves, and you can see Kevin Kelly's shadow shaking in fear, that was a good touch. This was very well done. The Road Dogg versus Chris Jericho. You can all write this down. On July 10th of the year 2000, the Road Dogg, Jesse James, Brian Armstrong, attempted a moonsault.
Sure did.
Missed it.
He failed.
Hey,
I want to say something before we continue with this. Kevin Kelly, I just want to say, is an underrated, very talented man in this business.
Yes.
Like, a lot of people today watch him on New Japan, and he's great on New Japan. And like a lot of new fans, that's what they know of Kevin Kelly. He's a guy who does a really good job on New Japan. But Kevin Kelly doing his role here in the year 2000 was great in his role. He was not your normal idiot backstage interview guy. He was a very professional guy. He managed to ask the questions in a realistic manner. You never thought that he was an idiot. You felt bad for him when guys like belittled him or whatever. He did a very good underrated job here. I think part of it is because I see so many shitheads doing this job nowadays that I look back and I'm like, fuck, this guy was great. I didn't notice it then, but looking back now, he did a great job at that job. I also was watching Pamela Paulshock, who is his alter ego on the other fucking show.
What a polar opposite.
Holy smokes.
In all possible ways.
I want to give him credit for being great.
So Road Dogg did in fact miss this moonsault, and the finish was, you miss a moonsault, I'll hit a quebrada, and I'll pin you. But they didn't really work out which way Jericho was going to run for the quebrada and which way Dogg needed to be lying in the ring.
Well, listen, I know the people that don't like Jericho are going to say that this was Jericho's fault, but Road Dogg fell at an angle. He's laying at an angle.
Diagonally, yes.
Not in the middle of the ring. He's between the ropes and the middle of the ring, okay? Where the fuck could Jericho possibly have gone? He couldn't go to the ropes on the side that Road Dogg was on because he was too close. If he tried to go to the ropes on the other side, as we found out, he was too far away. If he would have gone onto either of the other ropes, Road Dogg's facing the fucking wrong way no matter what rope he goes to. Like, this was totally not Jericho's fault. There was nowhere he could have gone to make this work.
Well, the way he gone, I think that's the right English. The way he went, thank you. He hit the ropes, so he was going to come down in the UFC. It's called the north-south position. It could be crude and call it the 69, but we'll call it the north-south. So his feet's coming down like at Road Dogg's face, and then they hit Road Dogg's face.
So far in this sentence, you said the way he gone, and also his feet.
Yes. I don't know.
Are you okay over there? Did you have a stroke?
Maybe I'm at the beach. I don't know.
Dude.
I promise I'm sober.
But anyway, the point of this is
Road Dogg got kicked in the face really hard by a flying man.
He did, but when they showed the replay, he barely got touched. And he was totally fine when they did a pre, or I don't even think it was a pre-tape. I think it was probably live immediately afterwards. So this could have gone very badly,
yes, but
everybody survived and everything was fine. And the match was good.
And Jericho pinned him, and of course Hunter goes nuts backstage. We then see the Undertaker on his motorcycle in the hallway, cruising on down, making people run and dive out of the way to save their lives.
Where else do you ride a motorcycle?
The road. What an asshole the Undertaker was here. Backstage, the Road Dogg is in fact alive, but since he lost, Hunter chews him out, shoves him down. Road Dogg's outraged. They're all pissed at each other. Undertaker comes out for a promo.
Okay, hold on a minute. I'll let you recap this in a second, but let me tell you something, everybody. The next 3 hours of this Raw episode here was the longest 3 hours of my fucking life. Taker comes out, cuts this goddamn rambling, long, boring, impossibly bad promo. He is followed by Kurt Angle, who comes out and cuts an incessantly long, boring, horrendous promo by Kurt Angle standards of all people. And then they do a sight gag with a fucking scooter. Undertaker, this whole thing. All I gotta say is when this was over, I was in a fury, okay? I was sweating. I was so angry. I hated the show. I wanted to quit this job. I hated every fucking solitary thing about this. It made me so just infuriated. And on top of that, as mad as I was that my life was being wasted on this shit, there was also the part of me that thought, you know what? All that aside, I do not give a shit about seeing these guys have a match together. If they would have just come out at the beginning of the show and said, coming up at Fully Loaded, Kurt Angle will face The Undertaker, I would have went, fuck, that sounds like it's going to be a pretty good match. By the time they were done with this, I was like, fuck you both. I'm not watching Fully Loaded. I don't ever want to see either of you again. Just get off my TV and go away. Fuck. Am I wrong?
Wow. You had a much stronger reaction to this than I did.
Dude, it just went on forever. They wouldn't get to the fucking point. There's three things that need to happen. Undertaker needs to call out Angle. Angle needs to say, let's do this at the pay-per-view. Angle needs to get on a fucking scooter. Undertaker gets mad. Okay? That's 3 minutes. This went, what, 45 minutes? Don't even tell me it went 1 minute less.
I didn't time it. I can't
Jesus
honestly tell you
Christ.
how long it went. But it didn't occur to me to have gone 40-some minutes. Well, here's what I got out of this. Undertaker says he hates a punk ass who is afraid to fight. He says that after last week when Kurt Angle attacked him, we saw that on Raw, when Kurt Angle attacked him from behind. So then on SmackDown, Kurt
Say hi to
Angle.
Bridget for me.
Bridget's home, everybody.
You think I can't see that?
Bridget's home. Bridget's home from Alaska. She just got her plane just landed.
Oh, man.
Just
Vinny's
walked in the
whole
door.
thing tonight was like, her flight lands at 8:30 and she'll come home, and I just don't want her to come in the middle of the show.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, we'll push it back. And sure shit, Vinny, your fear came true. Would you like to go visit her real quick, and I'll do a quick pause?
Sure.
Okay, stand by, everybody. All right, we're back, everybody. Thank
All
God
right.
Thank God you didn't have sex right there, because you didn't turn the machine off.
You're a lucky man. The thought occurred to me. So, The Undertaker, here's what I got out of this promo. Last week on Raw, The Undertaker and Kane destroyed Edge and Christian, but they didn't win because Kurt Angle attacked The Undertaker. That's how this all started. So on SmackDown, Taker says, Kurt Angle poured food on his bike.
Fuck.
And worse, I swear to God he said this, even worse, he didn't clean it off.
That's worse than pouring the shit on it in the first place.
So I honestly don't know if I was supposed to take that seriously or not. Like, did Taker think Kurt would come along, pour food on his bike, and then say, oh, just kidding, I'll get a rag and get to work? So, let's see. Angle comes out. This fight is too good for San Jose. It'll have to be fully loaded. Everyone boos, and he says, these people are booing with anger about the thought of you and I going at it. The American hero versus the American badass is un-American. Says Taker needs to clean up his image, offers him the scooter. Taker declines, chases after him, pushes the scooter off the stage.
Great.
Rikishi versus Val Venus versus Kane. So Val got a haircut in addition to winning the Intercontinental title. These days, I'm not sure which of those is bigger news, honestly.
Oh, God, yeah, he did cut his hair off, didn't he?
So they do a bunch of random stuff. They're working hard, but it's just stuff.
I was so not into this match after that last segment. Like, I just couldn't even get into it. I was done with the show. The show must have been good because I got back into the show a few minutes later, but I did not care one bit about this match. And then after wrestling for 2 hours, they went to a fucking disqualification in a 3-way.
Yep. Val hits somebody with his belt. It's a DQ. Match is over.
And I can't remember exactly what Jim Ross said because I was like so mad I didn't even write it down. But he said that, I can't remember what he said, but it was like, in his mind, there was a winner. And I was like, how? Who won this match and how? Whoever hit the belt shot was clearly the loser.
Yeah.
So who was the winner? The guy who got hit? What about the poor fucking guy that got screwed because he didn't had any contact with the belt?
Because he didn't get hit.
I mean, what? This was stupid.
Stephanie tries to console Hunter, but suddenly Hunter's all happy and smiling. Says, I got an idea. Earlier today, the cat arrives at WWF New York.
The Shat?
No, the other cat.
Oh.
So Stephanie goes to the ring. She calls out Chris Jericho.
The cat, by the way, was not the best cat tonight. Shat was. But we'll get into that later.
So Stephanie butters up to Jericho. Says she kind of likes him, kind of liked his kiss. She thinks he liked it too.
Meanwhile, Lawler is lusting all over Stephanie McMahon's lips.
She says she wants to be friends. So Jericho appears on the screen, and in this segment, Jericho is no dummy. He is talking about how great she is, how great she looks, says he can't wait to kiss her again.
Hold on a second. She didn't say she wanted to be friends. She said, I kind of liked it. I think you liked it too. Now, pucker up and let's make up. She told him, get your ass down here. We're going to start making out.
I believe she actually did use the words, let's be friends in there too. But regardless, Jericho can see right through this. I'm coming right out, sugar muffin. And he walks off camera.
Hopefully Bridget didn't hear that.
He walks off camera. His entrance begins to play, but the lights come out. DX is waiting for him, but he is not there. It's a trap! He saw right through it. Says, this is the most pathetic attempt at an ambush I've seen in my entire life. He runs down Hunter. He runs down Steph. Stephanie has just, I forget what it was, but she has the goofiest expression on her face, as she always does at these times. Hunter is furious outstage that he's been outsmarted, or furious on stage that he has been outsmarted. And Jericho says that you may be the game, but I am the hunter. And Hunter says, your ass is mine at fully loaded.
This was great.
As he's storming off stage, even Jerry Lawler, the heel announcer, is like, did Hunter think this plan was foolproof? Because Hunter earlier had said he had a foolproof plan.
Yeah, this
apparently was it.
I thought this was great. I mean, it was so obvious what it was. They didn't make Jericho look like an idiot. He outsmarted the heels. It was great. Everybody was great in the segment. Stephanie's usually annoying, but she was great. Jericho was great. Hunter was great. Lawler was great. I loved this segment. It turned the show around for me.
Kelly interviews Edge and Christian. They were supposed to have a tag title match tonight against the Acolytes, but Christian says he is sick, and so Edge will have to do
the sniffles.
The sniffles. Edge will have to do a non-title singles match instead. And Edge is a little slow on the gimmick at first, but Christian eventually smartens him up. X-Pac and Hunter are all pissed. X-Pac says it was a stupid idea. They start yelling at each other. Hunter says, so I'm facing you tonight. It's you and me.
So clearly, the failed part of the plan was part of the foolproof plan.
The foolproof plan involved luring Jericho into a false sense of security by having a shitty plan.
So at the end of the day, Hunter was right.
He is the cerebral assassin.
Yes, he is. And actually, I hate to say it, but at the end of the day, Jericho did look like an idiot. We'll get to that.
Edge versus, as it's announced here, Acolyte Bradshaw.
Yeah.
It had a boring match. Nobody cared about it. Edge hit a bell shot and won.
I love that they had that whole situation with the higher power and the Undertaker and Vince McMahon and whatever that convoluted bullshit story was. And it ends, but these guys are still acolytes.
Yes.
They're very loyal. I don't know to who.
I'm not sure what they're acolytes of.
Sure.
But yes, they are acolytes. The Hardys give Lita a pep talk. She's having a street fight, in fact, with Trish tonight. So then Test and Albert and Val are in Trish's locker room. It's Albert's job, apparently, to tell Trish that she's up and then break the news. The three of them are not allowed at ringside tonight. But it's all up to her, and she can do it. And she leaves, and they laugh and say she has no chance.
Did we already go over Edge versus Bradshaw?
I had nothing to say about it.
Oh. Well, a lot of shit happened. Christian tried to interfere. Farouk took him out. Bradshaw had the cover. Ref was distracted. Christian tried to hit the ring. Bradshaw killed him. Edge got the bell. Waffled Bradshaw. Pinned him. They had to do all that rigmarole just for Bradshaw to do a fucking job.
That's why it was boring and nobody cared. Road Dogg tries to talk X-Pac out of the match with Hunter. X-Pac refuses, so Dogg says he won't be a part of this, and he leaves. Trish versus Lita in a street fight. So at this point, Lita had been wrestling for a while. I don't know exactly how long. Trish is barely trained. She's out there in 6-inch boots. She's trying to take the hair mare, which is like the only move women could do in 2000. She's taking this bump, almost landing on her head every time. Lita hits a moonsault and tears Trish's shirt off, and she goes to the shorts, but of course Steven Richards' alarm plays.
God damn, that music is horrific.
He runs out with a robe, he pulls Trish away, and we have a count-out in the first ever women's street fight on Raw.
Yes. So, I mean, fucking a count-out, a street fight, are you kidding me?
Lita couldn't have pinned her and then started tearing her clothes off?
No. Come on, Vinny. This right to censor music is horrific. Mm-hmm. But it's still better than Wild and Young. I listened very carefully to the music this week. And I almost fired up the other song, but I just couldn't even do it. I'm afraid if I even say the name of that fucking song right here...
You just did.
It'll start playing. Well, I know, I'm backtracking. But anyway, Wild and Young is horrible. Man. So then Stevie cuts his promo, blah, blah, blah. They call him Steven Richards eventually, right?
I thought they called him that tonight.
He should have been S. Gordon Richards or something. Because obviously this whole thing is a spoof on L. Brent Bozell.
I see.
And the Parents Television Council, PTC, RTC.
Where did you get Gordon?
It's a wacky name.
Okay.
S. Gordon Richards. I guess I could say S. Riley Richards or S. Would be another. It'd have to be an R, I guess.
Rick?
S. Randall Richards.
Randall actually works.
That's actually a good one. S. Randall Richards. Should have been his name.
Rudolph? Not Randall.
Rudolph is not bad as well.
So, yeah, that's the whole thing. Road Dogg tries to calm Hunter down. It doesn't work. He says, I'm not sticking around to watch this. The XFL has a press conference in San Jose. Road Dogg leaves the building.
Yeah.
He's gone. So it's Triple H versus X-Pac. Of course, they were not planning on fighting, so they're in street clothes.
What I loved about this is, like, in storyline, in order to properly fool Jericho to give him a beating, they had to beat the shit out of each other.
Yeah.
So they didn't go out there and do one of those fake matches where, like, they're exchanging holds. Because obviously if they just do holds, Jericho's going to know it's a ruse. Mm-hmm. So they had to punch each other repeatedly in the face.
Yeah.
And do all these high-impact moves and everything like that. And later, when it's all over, X-Pac is still selling his face and saying, I took a beating, but goddamn, it was worth it.
That's right.
They did a great job here because on Raw, this would have been stupid today. But they put a lot of thought into it. It for the most part, made sense. Finally, after this, I mean, what didn't make sense is like, why did Jericho go out there? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, so what happened was they're fighting, Pac and Hunter are, and Hunter gets thrown outside, and Jericho zooms in to attack him.
Yes.
I don't know why.
Well,
he has a match coming up. He didn't need to attack him. There was no incentive here.
See, he was a babyface who got greedy, and he paid for it. So
yes.
Even though this was a diabolical trap, he did look dumb to a degree. Like, they could not figure out one way to do it where he would not be dumb, at least to a degree.
So, yes, as soon as he comes out there, X-Pac points up the ramp, and here comes Road Dogg with a sledgehammer. It's a trap, again. They beat him up. They beat him and beat him. Hunter gives him a pedigree. Just drops him. I assume this is Jericho's fault more than anything, because I've seen Hunter hit a billion pedigrees, never do this. Chris Jericho bounces off his forehead on this pedigree. Just kabong. I watched it over and over again. It was brutal. And he did have room, by the way, you know, to lift his head.
Not do the El Kabong?
Yes, because his head bounced, which is an indication that he had room to lift his head up. So don't take a pedigree like this, everyone. They hit him with a sledgehammer a few times, and they actually swung the sledgehammer like a sledgehammer is supposed to be swung, instead of just putting your hand on the head and jabbing a guy with it. And Steph slaps him. He's bleeding from the mouth. He's bleeding from the head. They beat the hell out of Jericho.
This was such a great heavy heat angle. They fool the guy. They lure him in. They beat the shit out of him. It's 3-on-1. He gets the internal bleeding first. Then they whack him in the head, and then he's bleeding from the head. He's just bleeding everywhere. They're leaving the guy for dead. And I thought, my God, the payoff when Jericho gets his revenge, beats Triple H fully loaded. Fuck, it's going to be great.
It's going to be awesome.
It's going to be great, everyone. It's going to be great when he gets that revenge, everyone, at fully loaded.
Uh-huh. Or ever.
I was just laughing my ass off when I watched this. If you don't know, everybody, spoiler, he doesn't fucking win it fully loaded. They do a last man standing match and Hunter beats him. Clean, I might add. I mean, it's just ridiculous. It's fucking ridiculous.
So DX is taunting Jericho as he's loaded into the ambulance. And this is where Pac had his line about how it's all worth it. Kat is at WWF New York dancing with random goofs as Method Man's song for The Rock is playing.
Lawler has to act all excited. I'm sure inside he's like, son of a bitch. Get me to New York as quick as I can when this fucking show's over.
Shane and Benoit go for a walk. The Rock goes for a walk. And then we get Chris Benoit versus The Rock, who had a great wrestling match. So, it's awesome. Rock hits the spine buster, I believe. Yes, the spine buster. And Shane yanks the ref out of the ring, yanks his shirt off, and puts the referee's shirt on. So Rock goes to chase Shane, but this leaves him vulnerable, and Benoit cuts him off and puts him in the crossface. And Rock is fighting and fighting and fighting for the ropes. and he reaches out for the ropes, and his hand brushes the ropes, but then lands on the mat. And then Shane is, in fact, a heel referee, and he calls for the bell.
Yeah.
And he says The Rock tapped out.
Yes.
And Benoit won.
So, Benoit wins. It's bullshit, okay? But Benoit gets his hand raised, and they're celebrating, and Earl Hebner then announces it is a disqualification, and Rock is the winner. And I was like, okay, hold on a second. The fucking Rock does jobs to everybody and their mother. He loses to everybody. So now we're 2 weeks away from Fully Loaded, and we've got to build up a challenger for The Rock. And you can't even just give that win to Benoit, even though it's bullshit. You had to reverse the decision and Rock won via DQ. I'll give him till next week because there is one more week. But holy fuck. I mean, come on. It's not like this is Triple H who they refuse to ever have anybody beat ever under any circumstances. I don't like seeing The Rock lose to everybody, but you know what? If you got to build a challenger for The Rock, then you got to have someone beat The Rock in a non-title match. They couldn't even do that. They had to do a bullshit finish and then reverse the bullshit finish. I was flabbergasted.
I didn't even realize they'd reversed the finish until right now.
They did. They didn't even give him that win via bullshit. They reversed the decision. Rock left this show as the winner.
Huh. How about that?
Yes.
Well, I'm going to stick with the finishes I wrote down. Which were pin after illegal man hit a move, pin after interference, clean pin, DQ in a three-way, pin after bell shot, count out in a street fight, and a submission called by a crooked ref.
So you're telling me that we had a count out in a three-way or street fight?
A DQ in a three-way.
A DQ in a three-way and a count out in a street fight. I'm sorry, I was distracted. I was reading this. This is what happened, Vinny. This is how we get to The Rock versus Chris Benoit in 2 weeks, okay? Rock and Benoit were in a singles match. And although Benoit seemingly won, the referee disqualified Benoit due to McMahon's interference. On the following episode of SmackDown, Foley forced Benoit to wrestle Eddie Guerrero and Chyna in a handicap match. Benoit lost by disqualification again, attacked Hebner, and this caused The Rock to offer Benoit a title match at Fully Loaded. Are you fucking kidding me?
That's strange.
Even in the glory period, they did bullshit. That is horrible booking.
You know the most amazing thing? This whole thing started when Benoit lost the IC title.
Yes.
I don't think he's won since.
I think you are probably right.
They couldn't beat Matt Hardy or something. Have him win a match.
And then, not only that, the match is Rock versus Benoit, where if Rock is DQ'd, he loses the title. Can we make this any more shitty? And then The Rock wins.
Spoiler
Spoiler alert, everybody. After that build, Benoit did not become the champion.
No, in case you thought perhaps you'd forgotten Benoit's world champion in 2000.
Jesus.
WWF Monday Night Raw number 373, July 17th of the year 2000. The intro is just clips of Benoit attacking Rock over and over again on every show in the world. Opening segment, I will cut to the chase.
Wow, this went long.
I will cut to the
22 minutes.
It took 22 minutes and a cast of thousands.
Do you know, however long that felt to you, last night some fucking idiot thought it would be a really good idea to have Carmella, who else was in it? Alexa Bliss, Naomi,
Natty,
and Natalya do a 4-women elimination match that went 24 minutes.
Oh.
Can you fucking imagine?
I actually can't.
Alexa Bliss apparently was very, very upset on Twitter. And listen, let me tell you two things, everybody. It's not the fans' fault.
Right.
And it's not Alexa's fault. It's the fault of whatever person thought it would be a good idea to have those 4 women work for 24 minutes in an elimination match. Fucking crowd turned on it, chanted, "This is boring. Let's go Cena. Cena sucks. He's not even in the match." CM Punk just fucking trying to entertain themselves in the middle of this wretched 4-way match. I guarantee this opening segment, Vinny, was better than that match. I promise you.
I suspect it probably was.
Thank you.
There was no, like, every part of this was good. It was just 22 minutes. So let's count the number of people involved here. Mick Foley, The Undertaker, Kane, Kurt Angle, Triple H, The Rock, Benoit, Shane, Edge, and Christian, and then mentioned the Acolytes and Jericho. So 13 people, to one degree or another, are involved in this 22-minute segment.
Did you get Stephanie in there?
Kind of impressive they got that done in 22
14
minutes,
if you want to count
actually.
Stephanie, yeah. So it took all those people and all that time to do these 3 things. Hunter and Jericho for the pay-per-view is now last man standing. It's Hunter and Kurt versus Taker and Kane tonight. And also Rock and the Acolytes versus Edge, Christian, and Benoit tonight.
Correct.
They booked 2 matches and added 1 stip. And it took all that.
Dear God.
This is also the go-home show for Fully Loaded, by the way.
Didn't they just do a pay-per-view? Maybe that was WCW.
Yeah. Dudleys versus Hardys. This match, Matt Hardy did a leg drop off the middle rope. A middle rope leg drop. And because it's WWE and things never change, King has to say, Matt calls that little move the drop shot.
The what?
The drop shot.
That didn't last long.
No, but every move has to be, he calls that the blank. It's a leg drop. He just did a leg drop. It's okay. So they're doing this match. The Dudleys get a table. Steven Richards steals it. And then all hell breaks loose. A ladder's involved. Jeff does a dive off the ladder onto random people. Trish goes to climb the ladder. She's staying at the top of the ladder, teetering and tottering, and I'm screaming. She climbs down, and Lita goes up there, and Lita gets knocked off the ladder through a table. It was a miracle. Nobody was seriously hurt here. And I don't think there was a finish. If there was, I did not write it down.
There was no finish.
Yeah. TNA were out there. Who knows?
This right to censor thing is going to run its course rather quickly.
I think it's done.
Okay.
I mean, it goes on till like Mania next year. But yes, I'm already sick of it. So after the break, Lita is on a stretcher and in a neck brace, but she refuses the neck brace and rolls off the stretcher, and the Hardys take her away. Godfather comes out. He's doing his spiel when Steven Richards interrupts again.
Mm-hmm.
He scolds the Godfather, the producers, the fans. The Godfather says, "You are costing me the hardcore title right now." He could have been contending for that prestigious hardcore championship. So he goes to fight Richards. Richards runs to the back. It's a trap. Bull Buchanan is now part of Right to Censor, which doesn't have a name yet, but
right.
He runs out and attacks the Godfather as Steven steals the women and takes them to the back.
Who's a hardcore champion, Vinny?
Steve Blackman.
Good.
They did mention it here.
Okay.
At some point, it may not have been this segment, but at some point in the show, they did mention that.
I had totally forgotten.
Yeah. I don't blame you. I would not have remembered if they hadn't mentioned it. But. So Cole interviews Kurt Angle about Triple H.
This was good.
Kurt says Hunter is a bad apple, and he and Steph are just friends. It was just a hug. And to demonstrate it was just a hug, he hugs Michael Cole. Then Michael Cole interviews the Godfather. Godfather says Steven Richards doesn't know what people want. He's going to show Richards and Bull how hard pimping is.
I hear it's easy.
Apparently not.
Weird.
My favorite thing in the show in this next match, maybe just the whole match actually, DX versus Too Cool. So they're beating up Road Dogg. And Too Cool both tag in, and they both take a hand. They both take one of Road Dogg's hands.
They lock fingers.
Yes. And Craig, you made a breakdancing joke when I got here.
I did.
They do the wave.
Yeah.
The wave flows through Road Dogg's body,
Yes.
down his torso, to his feet, where it bounces, wiggles back up his body, out his arms, through their arms, and then they punch him. And what really made this, you have to watch Road Dogg's face as he looks down. Like, he's not participating. There's an involuntary inactive motion where the wave is traveling through his body and he can't stop it. and then they punch him. I laughed and I laughed and I laughed. And then it made it even better. X-Pac tries to hit the ring. They do a double leg trip on him, and he headbutts Dog in the nuts.
Yes.
This is perfect tag team wrestling.
Somewhere Jim Cornette was groaning.
No, Jim Cornette would have loved this.
I don't think so.
So, you keep doing the match. Everyone hits a 1,000 moves. And finally, X-Pac pulls Scotty out of the ring and pins Grandmaster Sexay with the X Factor. I love this.
It was good. Is it just me or Road Dogg, X-Pac, Too Cool? They're just kind of running in place right now?
Yes.
Okay.
Edge and Christian are the tag team champions being buried every week.
Yes.
So all the other tag teams don't have much to do.
Apparently not.
Yeah. Shane is giving a pep talk to his team. Says the Acolytes are going to mistake. Edge and Christian need to capitalize on that mistake. And Benoit, you own The Rock. And The Rock and the Acolytes go for a walk. Benoit, Edge, and Christian versus The Rock and the Acolytes. The highlight of this match to me, and it was a good match, but the highlight was Bradshaw loudly calling spots. And when Farouk goes to tag him, he just shouts at the top of his lungs, "Double flapjack!" And they do the double flapjack. He's about to make a cover, but he turns to the heel corner and shouts, "Szave!" I laughed.
The funny thing about this match is you weren't going to get heat on The Rock. I mean, you could have. Mm-hmm. They decided to get the heat on Bradshaw.
Got the heat on Bradshaw.
Which was weird.
Well, it was, but of course it sets up the hot tag to The Rock, you would think.
Right. Apparently they had a coin flip in the back, and Ron Simmons won.
Yeah.
I guess.
So they worked over the big giant Texan for a while. And then they made a hot tag to Farouk. I thought, okay, so now they get the heat on him again, and then Rock can get the hot tag.
Right.
No, instead, Benoit hit a bunch of people with chairs, and Edge pinned Farouk with a downward spiral.
Why does Chris Benoit throw a chair upside down when he swings a chair?
I don't know.
That looks dangerous to me.
Well, it probably was. The Rock is now angry. So he goes to hunt for Benoit backstage. He finds him in the heel locker room, and he picks a fight with 4 guys. So he gets swarmed, and it's Benoit and Shane and Edge and Christian. They're all beating his ass. Think, okay, the Acolytes will show up, and it'll be an even fight, and then the title turn. No, Rock beat all of them up by himself. He destroyed them. He left them lying. He left Benoit bloody. And eventually, Shane and Benoit got into a car and drove away. In the meantime, The Rock hit Benoit in the head with the chairs about 18 times, and I was very uncomfortable.
The Rock was a madman here.
Yeah.
He was on a tear.
Yes.
He went through the building just laying waste to everybody.
Yeah.
It was awesome.
Well, what was? Except, again, he buried the tag team champions and all the other teams in the hallway doing nothing. He passed by that, stepped out of his way. I guess there's worse things than having a dominant champion. Mm. Then they replayed, like, the entire thing. Dean Malenko promo. He says you can't live with women, but you can wrestle them.
It's not the way that goes.
That's a new one to me. I haven't heard that twist on it. The only thing better, he says, than 2 women fighting over him is him fighting 2 women. He challenges Ivory and Jacqueline to come face him for the Cruiserweight title. Sadly, Eddie and Chyna came out instead, and was Chyna versus Dean one-on-one. My God, Chyna was terrible in this match. Mm-hmm. She fucked up everything. Eventually, she got the cloverleaf. Dean got the ropes. Saturn attacks Eddie, which is great news because their brawl was much better than the actual match in the ring. Saturn essentially hit a jackhammer on the ramp to lay Eddie out. Poses with Terry, so they're together now. And Chyna is tending to Eddie and gets counted out.
At one point, Dean whipped her into the ropes. She reversed it, hit the ropes, kicked Dean in the chest as he was bent over to do a
backdrop.
Backdrop, thank you. Mm-hmm. Rented lips. And somehow when he took the bump, she tripped over him and took a bump as well.
This is bad. Like, by Chyna standards. This is one of her worst matches. Kelly interviews Triple H, who I thought got a great promo here. I don't like Kurt. My wife can't stand Kurt. He should have thrown that in there. But Kurt is no idiot. He will do the smart thing tonight. He will keep his mouth shut and do what I tell him. And after I win, he will thank me for allowing him to survive in the ring. And if Kurt decides to screw with me or my wife, I will take him apart. It was awesome. Taz goes for a walk and then cuts a promo. Talks about all the random people he's attacked. Hit Kane in the head with a chair. He's just another victim. Hit Rikishi in the head with the camera, cost him the Intercontinental title. He's just another victim. I choked out the worm, just another victim. And until some hero yanks the reasons out of my mouth, the path of rage will continue. So Foley interrupts. Says Taz is going to have a match at Foley Loaded as soon as Mick can find a suitable opponent. We're halfway through the go-home show, by the way. Out comes Al Snow. Says, you want to talk about misery? For the past 6 months, I have been teaming and traveling and rooming with Steve Blackman. And if he had just left it there, that actually would have been pretty funny.
Yeah.
But he had to make some dumb-ass gag about Blackman talking about where to store human remains. It was so completely unfunny, he killed the joke.
Excuse me?
Yeah.
What were you saying a couple weeks ago about?
I wasn't paying attention, but I suddenly paid attention to hear Al Snow talking about human remains.
Steve Blackman apparently discusses them frequently.
Wow, that's weird.
So Foley works in a plug for his book. There's one thing I can't stand. It's the guy who plugs his book over and over again.
I'll tell you.
And it says, Al, in big matches, you always choke. And then Taz, put him in a choke. So Foley says, hey, stop that. He books Taz versus Al for the pay-per-view. Taz leaves. Taz's music plays. Foley cuts his promo over Taz's music. This is like a good idea on paper, but in execution, it all just fell apart. Stephanie arrives for Monday Night Raw 90 minutes into a 2-hour show.
This can be some good beef.
I'm happy for you, Brian.
We're talking about Stephanie. Brian, behave.
I think we all know, everyone in this room and everyone listening to me knows I'm not a fan of Stephanie McMahon, but I will be fair. I thought she was fantastic here.
Okay. Good for you.
Cole or Kelly, whoever it was, she asks her about her relationship with Kurt Angle. She is appalled. She is now a billion-dollar princess who does not participate in such improper things. Michael, she says, it was Michael Cole. To me, a relationship implies sexuality. It's just enunciating every letter. Her nose is up in the air. Her eyes are all bugging out. She's looking down at him. She is prim and proper at all this. She would never share favors with Kurt Angle or anyone else except her husband, Triple H. As for tonight, the only prediction I have is that Taker and Kane will lose.
Fast forwarding just a little bit. I got to get this in. They were having the match, the main event, and Angle was in the match. And every time Kurt was on offense, they would shoot Stephanie. The camera would get on her, and there was a gleam in her eye.
Oh yeah,
and a little smile.
Oh yeah,
it was very subtle.
But
it was impressive.
Yeah, this whole thing is great. Everything about this is great,
and it never went anywhere.
Spoiler.
Sorry.
Rikishi is doing squats backstage. Then we get Test versus Rikishi.
Okay, listen. Why must the camera be inside of Rikishi when he's doing squats?
Every week.
Every week.
Are we sure it's a new shot, or do they just play the same clip every week?
I'm over this.
You're over his ass? Don't need to see his ass anymore?
No, I'm good.
Yeah.
I've seen enough.
Well, I don't know what to tell you, dude. He's around for a long time.
I understand.
They will probably do the shot every single week.
I just don't get it.
Well, he's got a big ass, you see.
I understand.
So they have to put it on TV in an extreme close-up.
Okay.
So he's feuding with Test now for some reason. I don't know why Rikishi and Test are feuding, but they're feuding. So immediately, Test accidentally bonks into Trish, knocks her and her giant high heels off the apron.
Good Lord.
Yeah.
Like 6-inch heels?
And she got to land on her feet.
She kind of did?
Sort of. Rikishi immediately pins Test with a Samoan drop. Match went maybe a minute. As Teddy Long is counting the pin, he alerts them they have 3 minutes to do whatever comes next. And whatever comes next is Prince Albert and Val Venus join in. They all attack Rikishi. Too Cool comes in. It's a big giant brawl. And as Scotty does the worm on the stage to Albert, but Val jumps in from behind. He throws him off the stage. It looked like there was supposed to be a table out there, but they forgot to set it up.
I think there was a pad.
There definitely was a pad. It was not like exposed cement.
With basically a curtain over the top of it.
Yeah, but this looks more violent than it needed to be.
Sure. By the way, this is the new thing. If you break up the worm, that is instant heat.
Oh, absolutely.
And it happened twice on this show.
Absolutely. And it always works. But they did still deliver it. He hit it on the stage.
Yeah, he did.
So after the break, for the second time in this show, someone is stretchered out. In this case, Scotty. Kelly then interviews Val, who cut a hell of a promo.
Yes, he did.
Rikishi, he says, represents everything I used to be. He does everything for
Fat?
He does everything, Brian, for the cheers of the fans.
Oh.
Rikishi
That's
dances.
not everything Val Venus used to be. He used to be a porn star. Used to be a...
He says, I used to gyrate and say, hello, ladies, just for the cheers of the fans. Well, come Sunday, I'll be in a steel cage waiting for those cheers of the fans to turn to sorrow as I give Rikishi the beating of his life. Kai and Tai is at WWF New York. They are totally drunk, calling for sake and signing autographs. Kurt meets with Hunter. Hunter's lacing up his boots, getting ready. There's a knock on the door. Come in. And he looks up, and first he laughs before we see who it is. And it's Kurt. And Kurt says, I got some ideas I want to go over. Hunter says, let me stop you right there.
I see this happening in real life.
It may have. This could have been like over and over, actually. Hunter just warns him to stay out of the way. If he just does what Hunter says, they're going to get through this night, everything's going to be fine. And he offers a handshake. And Kurt says, do you want a handshake? Or do you want a hug? And now Hunter's pissed. He just warns him, don't screw this up. So it's Kurt and Triple H versus Undertaker and Kane. The most interesting about this match to me is just counting how many different matches these men eventually had at WrestleMania. I came up with 7. Because Taker wrestled Triple H 3 times and Kane twice. And then Kane also had matches with Kurt and with Hunter. So by my count, that's 7. I may be missing some.
I was just trying to figure out when Triple H had actually had a good match with Kane.
I didn't say good match. I said at Mania.
Okay.
He had one at Mania. So the story here is that Kurt is terrified of The Undertaker. Will not tag in when he's in the ring. At one point, Hunter finally cuts Taker off and tags Kurt in. Kurt runs over, punches Taker once, runs back out. It was awesome. So eventually all hell breaks out. Taker chases Kurt to the back. Jericho appears. He's being held back by geeks, but Hunter is distracted. And so Kane backdrops Hunter. And then Kane, the one guy in this match who does not have a match on the pay-per-view, pins Hunter clean.
Yes.
Well, after a distraction, but
still.
Yeah. Jericho runs wild. Kane disappears, by the way, after his big win. Jericho's running wild. The place is going nuts. He hits a big, giant dive. The place is going crazy as it goes off the air. Man, I can't wait for Jericho to get his revenge on Sunday. That's going to be sweet.
Should I watch this show?
No. The Raw we just reviewed?
Yeah.
Watch the Road Dogg match.
I'll say that...
Who do you wrestle?
X-Pac and Road Dogg versus Too Cool. It's 3 minutes.
Okay.
It's worth 3 minutes.
Jericho showed some fire here, getting down.
Jericho was great.
It was the first time we'd seen him all night.
Yeah.
It took 10 men to hold him back. He was a maniac.
And he still dove out of the ring on all of them.
Yes.
Jericho doesn't do out of the ring dives very often.
No.
Not the running, like, Undertaker style dive.
Well, he clipped the ropes.
Well, that's why he doesn't do it very often. Brian,
Oh, I wasn't paying attention.
you only had 15 minutes to get ready for this.
Well, I got it ready. I just wasn't listening.
What an endorsement. The finishes on this show were DQ due to ladders and tables and interference, clean pin, pin after chair shot, count out after all sorts of interference, clean pin, and then pin after distraction.
Well, if that wasn't the most exciting 23 minutes of this show, I don't know what was.
WWF Monday Night Raw number 374, July 24th of the year 2000. It's the night after Fully Loaded, so Foley comes out for a promo. Lawler has a line about how he's sick of Mick Foley and Tiger Woods. I have bad news for Jerry Lawler in the year 2000.
Oh, man. There was a promo by Lance that talked about how... the
wrote it down.
Loose morals. The morals in this country, he said, have reached an all-time low.
Wait, dude.
I was like, boy, dude.
I don't know what to tell you about suing 2 decades.
I'm going to send you a fucking text calling you an idiot. The tables have turned tonight.
It's your one shot.
Yeah, it's my chance.
So Foley comes out to talk about what a novel concept. He talks about how great the pay-per-view was.
Yeah.
Says Rikishi and Val Venus had a great match. I'll never forget the way Rikishi did that splash at the top of the cage. And he says this, and everyone cheers. And then Jim Ross, like under his breath, says, Taz helped Val Venus win, though. Okay, great.
But we do need to know who won. I mean, that's an important
Well,
detail
it's a point Foley glossed over.
They were trying to sell pay-per-view buys on the replay on Tuesday.
That's true. That is true.
They're doing a much better job here than WCW did.
Right.
Where they just said, there was a crime, buy it to watch it. But, like, there's no victims. It's a victimless crime.
Yeah.
Pay $29.99 to see it. This at least has him talking about... Foley literally said these were two of the greatest matches in WWF history.
Yeah.
So buy the replay and watch them.
Said The Undertaker defeated Kurt Angle. Boy, did he, as I recall. And Kurt has demanded a rematch, so Foley's booked that for tonight.
Can you fucking imagine? The reign of terror has begun.
Yeah. Speaking of which, Triple H beat Chris Jericho in the Last Man Standing match.
Yep.
What?
Yes. Foley mentions Benoit and Rock. There's a huge ovation for The Rock.
Yes, he says, I never missed being in the ring until last night when I watched that main event. I thought, well, you watched The Rock versus Chris Benoit. Like, there ain't nobody that didn't want to be back in the ring after that match.
Yes. So at this point, Benoit and Shane come out. I know it's awkward to say good things about Chris Benoit in 2019, but he cut a great promo.
He actually did.
He did not cut a lot of great promos in his life.
No.
Well, he did. But the standards were different back then. Back then, Chris Benoit, there were so many people that could cut good promos that Benoit was on the low end.
Right.
But if you watch wrestling nowadays, there's so few people that can cut good promos that you look back and it's like, fuck, Chris Benoit cut a great promo right there.
Just the fact that he did it with passion and conviction,
Yeah.
which is totally
He sounded like a real person.
right.
Yeah, with the actual emotion. Yes. You're right, Brian. Standards have fallen, but by any stretch, this is one of Benoit's best promos. Says he was screwed. Foley is a fraud. Shane points out the one thing that has always been true in the WWF is that the referee's decision has always been final. And that referee ruled that The Rock was disqualified, and thus, per the rules of the match, Benoit should have been the world champion.
Okay, so for those of you that didn't see the show, and they didn't explain it here, what happened was Rock and Benoit are doing a match where the title can change hands via DQ. And at some point, Shane came out, and Shane, I believe, hit Benoit. Rock ended up with the chair. The referee saw it and disqualified The Rock.
Right.
So that's how Benoit won the title. And then Foley came out and said, I didn't see this disqualification, so we are restarting the match. And away they went.
Rock won.
And Rock beat him, yes.
Yeah. So Benoit wants a match with The Rock tonight. He's about to attack Foley when Stephanie interrupts. At this point, was I the only one who had like weird audio interference in the background like for the rest of the show?
The rest of Raw?
Yeah.
No,
Guess
I didn't have it.
Just me. All right.
Yeah.
Stephanie also wants Rock and Benoit tonight. And Foley, in reference to Stephanie, is about to quote Jericho's insult about her when she slaps him. So now he's pissed. He books Shane and Steph in a brother-sister tag match later tonight against two opponents of his choosing. And if Benoit or Hunter get involved, he's going to fire all four of them. That's the end of that. The Rock arrives. Road Dogg versus Steve Blackman for the Hardcore title. So the gimmick is X-Pac is doing commentary, and he and Road Dogg are now having a friendly competition to see who is the better singles wrestler by judging their performance against others. So Road Dogg is trying to impress X-Pac by winning the Hardcore title here. I maintain Road Dogg was the best Hardcore champion
He was.
the WWF ever had. This is like your random hardcore crap for a while, and then when Road Dogg pulls out his staff and Blackman gets the Eskrima sticks. Yes, Craig, I just said that.
Okay, no.
Yeah, I did.
Well,
So,
quite frankly, that's what they were.
it is. Sure.
Even I wrote they had an Eskrima fight.
Yes, they had a great duel. So
With Road Dogg's staff.
yeah,
Yeah.
which he pulled out. Yes,
Right.
Blackman won, punted a chair into his face, and pinned him. And X-Pac decided, I will challenge Steve Blackman for a match on SmackDown. I'll show Road Dogg how it's done.
He said that he is going to show the world who the best martial artist is.
I think his exact words were Karate Man.
Because X-Pac... No, he said martial artist.
Did he? Okay.
Yeah, X-Pac also does martial arts.
Yes.
So these two martial artists are going to face off. I love it because he flat out said, me and the Road Dogg are the best team, but we both think that we're better.
Right.
And I thought, this is like legit. Because actually both are very good.
Sure.
I'll bet they both think that the other is slightly worse as a worker than each of them.
Entirely possible.
Yeah. I'll have to watch that match. Road Dogg is an excellent worker.
Yes.
I think X-Pac's a little better, but I'm not sure.
Hunter arrives.
And what a test. They're both facing Steve Blackman.
Road Dogg passed.
Yes.
Road Dogg passed. Hunter arrives for a great segment. First, he's just appalled at the mess Stephanie has got herself into.
Yeah, he walks up and he goes, "What happened? How'd you get yourself into this?"
Yeah.
She goes, "Well, I slapped Foley." He's like, "What?
Why were you even down
Why
there?"
did you even do that?"
He's ranting about this, and as he's ranting, he like glances down at the table, and there's flowers there.
Well, first, she has to explain how this happened. Now, if you watch the opening segment was like 20 fucking minutes long, just went on forever. And granted, Foley was there, and everybody involved was good, so it didn't feel as long as it normally does. But how many times have we said it took them 20 minutes to say what we could say in 30 seconds?
Yeah.
Well, finally, we saw what would happen. Stephanie had explained the entire opening segment in 30 seconds.
And she did.
And she's furiously recapping the entire opening segment. And I was like, I gotta admit, it was better when they went 20 minutes. But anyway, he heard all of this and then saw the flowers.
And as the conversation is going on, he just looks down and sees these flowers, and he sneers. And it's clear he didn't get Stephanie flowers. So they're going back and forth about this. How'd you get yourself into this mess? And how Stephanie says, "I agree with Shane that Benoit should be champion." And now Hunter's pissed. "You think Benoit should be champion?" Because, of course, Hunter thinks he should be champion. And he asks, "Who sent these flowers anyway?" She says, "Read the card." And he snaps, "I don't care I don't need to read the card." And he slaps these flowers across the room. And Stephanie starts to sniffle, and her eyes get moist. She says, "I got them for you." And she starts to cry and storms out of the room.
Triple H was a heel.
He was, not only was he heel, but he was a heel for sure. But also, he knew he had fucked up.
Yeah.
So while he was a heel, he was still relatable.
He was the very definition of a heel.
Yes.
And you knew he felt like a heel.
He felt like a heel.
Yes.
Again, real people.
He was the Grinch.
He was fantastic here. And Stephanie again. They showed clips of Rikishi doing the splash off the cage onto Val Venus.
Good God, no wonder he couldn't work last night. His knees must be shot.
Well, it's funny you mentioned that, Craig, because Jim Ross's exact line on commentary, and I quote, "You'll regret it the rest of your life."
Yes, that is a fact.
You'd have to ask him, but I'm sure part of him does. I'm sure his knees do. Shane and Stephanie McMahon versus mystery opponents. So Lita comes out first. Crowd goes crazy. But Shane intervenes, cuts a promo, says, "I could unleash Steph." This is his exact words. "I could unleash my baby sister, but I'm not going to let anything happen to her." And then the Big Show comes out to be the other half of that mixed tag. And Shane immediately runs for his life. Show lumbers after him. This leaves Stephanie in the ring alone with Lita. And I don't know if this is just one night or if I forgot this, but oh my God, was Lita over.
Dude.
Yeah.
This was the first time she was ever this over.
Holy
Part of it was
Christ.
her pants were halfway down her ass and her thong was sticking out, so everybody was going crazy.
There's that.
She's beating the hell out of Stephanie, throwing her around, bunch of beels.
Also helped.
This was. It's just like, I watched this fucking women's evolution, and there's pluses and minuses, okay? But like, one of the things that they do is they have these agents who have these women do all of this dumb shit that like the ones who can't work can't do. So it makes things worse. So they got Stephanie out there, and it's like Lita's got to beat her up. So should we have Lita do some wild, crazy shit and cross our fingers on live TV? Or should her moves be 3 Beals and a vertical suplex? Well, they chose 3 Beals and a fucking vertical suplex, 3 idiot-proof bumps. Stephanie did totally fine having to do a match like that. Nothing looked stupid in this match. They just kept it as simple as fucking possible.
So Lita goes up for the moonsault when Trish Stratus runs down. She trips Lita on the ropes. She and Steph double team Lita. They tear her shirt off, whip her with a belt, and then the segment just ends.
Yeah, no match.
Well, there was an opening bell.
No count.
There was no count, as Granny would say.
Yes.
The Big Show is hunting for Shane McMahon backstage.
Who he calls, and I quote, I'm not even going to say it. You say it.
I think Craig should say it.
I'm not saying
It's not foul language.
$1 million butt plug. That's what the Big Show called it.
It's actually $1 billion, I believe.
Oh, billion. Wow.
This have you go check. This was, in fact, a TV 14
Shane
show.
was never a $1 billion butt plug. I can tell you that right now.
Not yet.
$1 million, maybe.
Vince won't last forever. I'm sure his inheritance will be healthy.
Not $1 billion.
The Godfather versus Bull Buchanan, where if Bull wins, The Godfather cannot have hose anymore.
Funniest thing about this match is, first off, it's Godfather's last night, so he actually pulled out some really attractive hoes this week.
I see, yes.
There's one blonde in particular that was just incredible.
One of them was Victoria, who he had last week as well, by the way.
There's a couple of them. So they come out here, and I wrote, nobody cared about this match despite the strip.
Okay.
I met the stip.
That is a Freudian slip if I've ever heard
It
one.
was a Freudian strip. So, fans are chanting "Save the Hose," and they're just doing this match. It's Godfather Bull Buchanan, and like nobody gives two shits about this match.
Imagine,
okay?
if you will, a Bull Buchanan and Godfather match.
They just don't care.
That's what it was.
But then, all of a sudden, the Godfather goes for the hoe train in the corner. And the ref is distracted, and Stevie hits him in the head with a chair shot, and the Godfather falls down, and Bull goes up and does a giant leg drop, and the fucking mood in the building totally changed because every fan suddenly realized, oh my God, this is the end of the hose. Because nobody believed it was possible. Because it was a random match on Raw with no build.
Yep.
Not even like a pay-per-view match.
Nope.
Just like a throwaway, nothing happening match. They all figured Godfather's going to beat Bull Buchanan. Who gives a shit? All of a sudden, they all figured out this was the end of the hose. And they're fucking freaking out. And Bull wins, and they're like, oh! And it's over. That's it for the hose. They're gone.
So the two notes I have to add are that when Stevie grabbed the chair, Victoria tried to stop him, and he super kicked her.
Yeah, she took a big bump.
What ended up distracting the ref. And then, so Stevie hits the Godfather with the chair, and Bull hits the leg drop and wins. And as they're leaving, Lawler's like, where's Mick Foley to reverse this decision?
That's a good point.
That's a great question, actually. He only watches Rock's matches, I guess.
Well,
I would rather watch a Rock match than a Bull Buchanan match. That's true.
sound.
Yeah. So, yeah, no more hose. Shane is hiding from the Big Show in the parking lot. And for a second, this irritated me because Shane's like crouching down behind a car, and we see Big Show in the background and not being able to see him, which would be fine, except the cameraman's standing up right behind Shane with a big ass camera and light. So it only went for a few seconds, and then Show spotted him, and then whoever planned this, a great rib on the Big Show, making him have to run after Shane. He can't run very well.
Show was in better shape than when he left.
Better.
Not good. He had, definition in his shoulders and neck, like,
He'd been working out.
Found some good protein powder, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah. I don't know how much cardio he'd been doing.
Sure.
Less running, maybe, than you should. We see Kurt Angle going for a walk. We see a bunch of fans. Usually they show, like, the star arriving, whichever star they have. This time they show a limo pulling up at WWF New York, and then we don't see anyone in it.
No.
And there's just a bunch of fans in the building.
So nobody showed up.
Not here, no.
Well,
Wow.
Jacqueline.
Maybe it was Shawn Michaels who was supposed to do a commentary on SmackDown, and it just never happened.
Oh, really?
Kurt Angle versus The Undertaker. Kurt says Angle did not beat him last night. He beat a man who lived in fear.
Undertaker didn't beat him.
Excuse me, Undertaker did not beat him.
Angle beat himself. You were actually right. Because of his fear.
Yes.
Yeah.
People in Austin, he says, have fear. Like whether that kid is yours or your brother's or the neighbor's or the mailman's. I laughed.
He has very good delivery of these goofy lines.
He's great at being Kurt Angle. So Taker just destroys him for a minute or two.
I'd like to add that Undertaker, even though he's got a new gimmick and new music, they still have the dong.
They do.
Right.
They knew the dong was a very popular part of the act.
It is.
Yeah.
So Taker's destroying him for a minute or two, and then Big Show chases Shane through the crowd into the ring. Taker is about to chokeslam Shane, but Big Show says, no, please let me. So Taker hands Shane to Show, but then Show lets go. It's a trap. They triple team Taker.
Another Big Show turn.
It is, actually. I hadn't even thought about that.
Start counting. That was the first thing I thought.
We're way behind the count, dude.
Yes.
Absolutely.
We're like a dozen into his 4-year career now. Crowd chanting for Kane. He never shows up. The three guys just beat him up forever.
Oh, my God.
And for the second time...
How many times do I have to talk about this? They do this all the fucking time. Let's beat on him till you're sick of it. Then we'll beat on him for 5 more minutes. Then we'll go to commercial and come back, and we'll still be fucking beating on him. And we'll beat on him backstage and break some shit over his leg. And then he's probably going to be back next week, beating everybody clean in the middle.
Yeah.
My favorite thing is when they come
Horse
back,
shit.
when they come back from break and they show a replay of the beating that took forever.
Yeah.
Before they beat him again.
Yeah. Also, by the way, went to break, no bell, so there was no finish to this match either.
Sure.
No count.
There was no count. They replay the entire deal, and here is Michael Cole to interview The Undertaker. Here is his question. The Undertaker is backstage, bent over, grabbing his leg and his gut. He's just miserable. He's in great agony. And Michael Cole asks, how do you feel after that vicious attack by the Big Show?
Fuck.
I'm stunned Taker didn't kill him on the spot. He says something about how payback's going to be hell, and then all three of them attacked him again. And fortunately, there was a replay later because I missed the part where they broke a cinder block over his leg like Jimmy Garvin.
Yeah. How did you miss that?
I was so bored, Brian, of this beating.
Yeah, it was a very, very long beating. That is
I
true.
tuned away to do something else. Jericho comes out for a promo. Says the match last night was the best of his career.
I just love that. Jericho loses, and he comes out, and the first thing he talks about is, well, I lost, but goddamn, it was the greatest match of my life. And we beat the living hell out of each other. Just like, you should be angry.
Yeah.
Like, according to the storyline, you got up at 9, or you got up at 10, and he got up at 9. So, like, you barely lost. Should be furious. He's happy that he had a great match in storyline. Calls out Hunter, and then Hunter does one of those promos where he starts out by talking about, I'm going to say things I've never said to anybody before. Last night, you proved a lot of things. You proved to everyone. You proved to me. You're a whole lot tougher than I ever gave you credit for. You proved that you had what it takes. You've got the guts. You have the heart. You have the desire. But you did not prove that you could beat me. I beat you within an inch of your life. Totally turns the corner. Talks about he beat the hell out of this guy. He doesn't want to face him here tonight. And it's one of those promos where Jericho goes, if you're not going to come out here, I'm going to go back there. How many times have we heard that?
Often.
A million.
Well, Hunter doesn't come out, so Jericho goes back there. He beats the shit out of
He
him.
did exactly what he said.
They had a wild brawl.
He stormed backstage, knew exactly where to go.
Yeah.
And when he got there, by the way, Hunter's waiting for him because Hunter's no dummy. He heard what Jericho said. So they had a brawl and Geek separated them, and that was that.
That was the one lame thing about it, which was, they finally get brawling, and then the guys just break it up, and we got to have Scotty 2 Hotty have a match.
Was he there?
He was next.
I see.
Kind of.
Shane and Big Show leave, but first they tell Kurt to watch Benoit's back. Kane's shadow arrives at the building. We do, in fact, have Scotty 2 Hotty versus Taz. This is
like
just
1 minute.
It went 1 minute.
Just Taz missioned him.
It only went 1 minute, and it was just one match, but it appears they have banned Taz from doing suplexes.
Great.
Is it?
No, I'm being sarcastic, you moron.
Yeah. He did 0 suplexes to Scotty, by the way. So I think he was in there with Rikishi. He got the Taz mission and won, and then Rikishi attacked him, and that's that.
I actually kind of like the finish. Scotty was trying to get away, so he got to the ropes, which, yes, should have been a rope break. He climbs over the ropes. Taz yanks him back over the top rope in the Taz mission, taps him out.
It was great for the 1 minute they had with no suplexes. But Taz with no suplexes is,
Yeah.
that's a tough battle. Foley is backstage with Edge and Christian, talking about how successful they were beating up the Acolytes' fists and feet with their faces. E&C don't care. They're happy about this. They are still the champions. Disqualifications rule, they say. So Foley books them in a 3-way against the Dudleys and the Hardys. So here they can lose without being pinned. He makes this ruling. They're all sore. And he gestures and says, be off with you and let me rule some more. That was great. Kane storms in.
Where the fuck has Kane been? And what's he so mad about?
He's mad. Somehow.
His brother got beat up.
Yeah, he's.
Who cares? They've been feuding forever.
Last.
They feud on and off for 10 years now. That's going to make him
Sorry,
mad?
I gave you a logical answer.
Come on. Kidding me?
Who cares?
Cares.
I don't know why that caught me off guard, but I was not prepared.
I mean, come
I'm
on.
going to say who cares.
Dude, one guy chokeslammed the other guy's mom on his dad's bones or some bullshit. Now he's supposed to care that a block got broken on his fucking dead leg?
Well, they're friends now.
Come on.
So
Ridiculous.
Kane wants Shane and Show and Kurt. It is ridiculous, Brian.
Thank you.
He wants Shane and Show and Kurt tonight, and Foley says, well, Shane and Show have already left, but you will get something, and you'll like it. Kane said, okay. So Angle is about to leave, totally shirking his responsibility to watch Benoit's back. Foley sees him. He says, I just now saw the footage where you guys attacked the Undertaker's knee.
What's he been doing back there?
That's a great question.
Fuck, you didn't watch that match with whatever earlier?
Bull Buchanan?
Bull Buchanan. Now he didn't see this.
No. Why's
This
he
guy's
there?
shirking he's shirking
Yes.
his responsibilities.
Yes. So Foley books Kurt and Benoit against Kane and Rock tonight. We are 2/3 of the way through the show, and we just now have a main event. Dudley's versus Hardy's versus Edge and Christian. Went a few minutes. Edge was pinned twice, but the Dudleys and Hardys kept breaking up each other's pins. And somewhere in here, Matt hit a leg drop on Devon, and Christian stole the pin. Or Edge stole the pin. Either way.
That's fun while it lasted.
Not one of their classic matches,
No.
to say the least.
Trish is backstage getting her makeup done for the strap match. She is appalled she has to do the strap match tonight. What if the strap leaves us scars, he says. It's not like Lita has that big ugly tattoo where the scars fit right in.
Trish is so shiny. You ever notice that?
Yes.
Okay.
I've never seen anyone. There was a time where The Rock's legs were really shiny. Like, it was impossible to miss. He would come out every week, and for some reason, he had really shiny legs.
Gleam like Iron Man.
And Trish is just, like, shiny everywhere. Her boobs are shiny.
I noticed
her
it.
legs are shiny.
When she was out earlier, I noticed her cleavage, which I thought, okay,
What?
yes, her cleavage was very shiny.
Huh.
And I thought, okay, they baby oiled her cleavage to get maximum camera exposure.
Sure.
But here it was, in fact, everywhere.
Everywhere.
She's very shiny skin.
Very well moisturized.
And exfoliated.
Yes.
Yes. So she explains that Foley is a...
To the makeup lady.
Yes.
Who's been listening to complaints for like 25 years. Yes. She should have just quit and gone into psychiatry or something.
Foley is a sexist pig who gets his jollies watching women strap each other. Just wait till the next show, lady. And she threatens to sue him for sexual harassment. We do finally see Jacqueline signing autographs at WWF New York.
Not as shiny.
No, not as shiny as Trish. So Angle is bitching to Benoit about this tag match they have to do. And he's bitching and bitching and bitching, and Benoit says, look, you just let me take care of The Rock, and then all you have to worry about is Kane. And he walks away, and Angle says, okay. Hey, wait a minute! Because it's Kane. And again, Angle is so great at being Angle. And they're in Austin, the University of Texas
Yes.
Longhorns.
Right.
So they got Longhorns all over the wall, and Angle walks away, they zoom in on the Longhorn logo, and then cut to the Brahma Bull. That was fantastic. Rock does his short promo. You don't win titles by DQ. You win by hitting your move and winning. And he's The Rock, and smell what he's cooking. Lita goes for a walk. They show from Fully Loaded Lita running absolute hog wild on not just Trish Stratus, but also Test and Albert. Well, no wonder she's so fucking over. She threw these guys around with grace and ease. So Lita versus Trish in a strap match.
Oh my God. So they have a spot in this match where the referee has to take a bump. And of all of the different ways that you could take out the referee, what do they come up with? Well, Lita's got this fucking strap in her hand, and she's whipping the hell out of Trish, her back, her ass, etc. And then the ref's there, and she fucking hauls off and straps this fucking poor guy right in the face.
That was the plan.
He fell down. He's grabbing his eyeball.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's what you came up with? Are you trying to kill somebody?
Yes.
And she hits a twist of fate, the moonsault, Steph comes down, and Lita's been looking so great. And then Steph has to hit her with the belt shot, and Lita bumps like an hour early. And she bumps so early that Steph just flies over her and falls down.
Yes.
And you could see on Steph's face, and she's like, fuck, should I hit her again? I don't even know what happened.
Yeah.
She fell down, and that must have looked bad.
Lita's big stuff at this point looks awesome, but she is very, very clunky in between.
Well, she is very good at doing the high spots.
Yes.
But that's all she can do.
To be
Because that's all
fair.
she's ever had to do.
To be fair, if an untrained wrestler is coming at you with a weapon,
Better to bump early.
Well, put your
Absolutely.
hands up and then take the bump or something. But like she bumped,
I'm just saying.
she was on, it was like big wood and remember they were walking across the ring?
Avalanche.
Like avalanche? Like they were that far away from each other when she bumped. Not good.
So they put Trish on top, and Trish wins.
Brian just compared Lita and
You sure right? Damn
Stephanie
right I did.
to Avalanche.
You're right.
and Big Wood.
Yeah.
I got to write this down.
I'm going to move on because I can't process that. Kane throws a tantrum backstage. Kurt Angle and Chris Benoit versus Kane and Rock. I don't want to alarm anyone, but they had time, and it was an excellent wrestling match.
Sure was.
My favorite part here, I don't know if I may be the only one who noticed it, Brian, do you remember the other leg Pete story?
Oh, yeah.
Did you see when there was an other leg Kurt spot in this match?
I did not.
Right before they had the heat on Kane, right before he tags out, he's crawling in the corner, and Kurt's going to grab a leg, and Kane's going to do an enziguri, but Kurt grabs the wrong leg.
That's right.
Oh, man.
So Kane apparently signals other leg Kurt, and Kurt puts that leg down and grabs him by the other leg, and Kane does his enziguri.
Oops.
So it's a big four-way.
What did I need Pete's leg for? Was it an enziguri?
I think it was actually the same spot, yes.
Yeah, well, I was grabbing his leg.
Yes.
He could only do an enziguri on one side, I think is what it was.
Yeah, same with Kane here.
Yeah.
They didn't cover it, or you covered it not as well as they did.
I was mad.
So there's a big four-way spot, and Rock puts Benoit on the crossface for, as it turns out, like an hour.
Yeah.
So Kane chases Kurt to the top of the stage. When he gets there, Shane and the Big Show have returned to the building. They attack Kane. They throw him into the WWF.com logo on top of the ramp, only Kane's big, so it's hard, so it takes them 2 tries to do this.
Really 3.
It may have been 3. I don't know. Eventually, they got him up there.
Finally.
And then after all of this, then Shane runs down. Benoit is still in the crossface. But Rock sees Shane.
Tough guy.
Well, he was. He never submitted. Rock sees Shane. Let's go with the hold. And when I buried the Big Show Shane chase earlier, Rock and Shane made up for that 1,000 times over. Because Shane, as much as we bury him, fucker can run.
Okay.
And Rock is a great athlete. These dudes were moving on this chase. But it ended with Angle hitting Rock with a chair, and they swarmed him. And for the 3rd time on the show, a match just stopped with no finish. And it ends with Shane McMahon, Chris Benoit, Kurt Angle, and the Big Show all posing together. I have zero memory of this ever being a faction, but on paper, it seems like a good one.
You know, as great an athlete as Kurt Angle is, and obviously he was a pretty good athlete.
Sure.
And he could do a beautiful moonsault. This fucking guy could not take a backward bump over the top rope to the floor. Ever.
That's true.
He always would turn and go face first over. And Kane was desperately trying to get him to take the bump the right way, and Kurt was not going over. And finally, he just jumped over like he's jumping in the pool. Wonder why he could never take it. Wonder if he got hurt once in training and was petrified.
That's
for the rest
entirely
of his
possible.
life.
And that's a bump that physically is very, very simple to do, but there's a part of your brain that says don't fall upside down backwards over things. Yeah. And conquering that is difficult to do. And if Kurt ever did something like that and got hurt, there you go.
Are you ready, Vinny?
Brian, I am ready when you are. The finishes on this show were decisive win in a hardcore match, no finish in a mixed tag match after interference, pin after interference, no finish in a singles match after interference, clean submission, clean pin in a 3-way tag, pin after interference, and then no finish in a tag match after interference.
Wow.
WWF Monday Night Raw. So there's been a overhaul of the WWE network. There are no longer episode numbers on Raw.
Oh.
You have to pay attention to the date of the show.
Do you know that, what day was it? Thursday? What did we watch Thursday?
The SummerSlam and
Oh, that's right. So I was watching SummerSlam. I don't know if I talked about this on the air.
92 for those of you who are not listening.
We're watching SummerSlam 92, and you're going to be over in like 15 minutes. And I had like 15 minutes left in this match. So I had to leave the room for like 30 seconds. And I leave and come back, and the screen, the iPad screen, it had shut off. So anyway, so I go to turn it back on, and in that 30 seconds, the fucking network upgraded.
Excellent.
So I came back, and I'm like, what the fuck is this?
Where is it?
So then I had to find SummerSlam, which I didn't know where it was. The continue watching wasn't available.
Yeah.
And anyway, eventually I found it, but that was infuriating. And then today I've noticed, in the old days when I watched it on my iPad, it's square, because these shows are old.
Right.
So it's not letterbox.
I see, yes.
Okay. So on the old WWE network, if you double tapped it, it would fill up the whole screen
on the iPad.
So you'd lose a little bit on the edges, but who gives a shit? What are you gonna lose on the edges? A couple fat fans. So I was like, okay, well, I'll just blow it up and watch the entire thing.
The heel.
You can't do that anymore. It doesn't allow you to blow it up.
Right.
So it's perpetually smaller now on my iPad.
So you're wasting screen space.
Yeah, I'm like, fuck, how come I can't blow this fucking thing up anymore? So that was kind of, it actually, on the iPad, I guess it doesn't, you don't really lose anything because, anyway, the point of it is, I can't do that anymore, so that was frustrating.
Yeah.
And then in the old days, you could skip forward. What are you looking at? No, I don't watch it on that.
That huge TV
I got
behind me.
reasons, don't worry about it. And then in the old days,
Watch my
when you
laptop.
skip forward, you could skip forward 30 seconds. Now they've changed, you can only skip forward 10.
Yes, I noticed that too.
I'm like, fuck, it takes me an hour to skip. I may as well just watch the entrance.
like a Philistine.
Yeah. So I'm not sold on this new WWE network yet.
I've noticed two big changes, one positive, one negative. The positive is because I was just telling Craig, I watch the show on my laptop, and I have the web browser window open, and then a text window open in front of it, so I can type on my notes but still see the screen at the same time.
Okay.
And the new network thing, the show, it's not in the center, it's over on the left. So I have more room for my text notes.
Ah.
Yeah, that's a big plus. A big negative is it seems like anything I do, no matter what, the play icon and the skip forward and backward 10 seconds icon, they appear in the middle of the screen and I can't get them to go away.
That's true.
That's very irritating.
You got to click somewhere and they'll go away.
No,
So it is
They go
somewhere.
away. They go away eventually.
Like 15 seconds.
On the Amazon Fire, they actually have an option where you can skip the match.
Fuck.
Russo's
I
dream.
better not find that one.
Yeah.
Do they have the option to skip the show?
Yeah, you just don't go to it.
Go ahead, Vinny.
WWF Monday Night Raw, July 31st of the year 2000. Gordon's
Episode date unknown.
episode unknown, the date we have.
It doesn't matter anyway. Because if they don't give you the episode, no one's going to go look for that episode.
no,
number.
no.
It's irrelevant.
Yeah. Gordon Solie passed away this week. Show opens with a graphic for the Dean of Wrestling Announcers. So we have clips of what happened on SmackDown. SmackDown here in the year 2019 is celebrating its 20th year. I believe the greatest moment in the history of that show happened this week in this recap when Triple H was booked to be in a mixed tag with Trish Stratus.
Oh, I missed this?
I was teaching her the hammerlock reversal, and Stephanie walked in and got the wrong idea. It's awesome. It's fantastic.
And it's fantastic because this is happening right around the same time that she's enamored with Kurt.
Yes, of course.
Yes.
So she's got her own wandering eyes, which cast the seed of doubt within her. So, yeah, Steph catches Hunter doing that.
By the way,
Yes.
Triple H is a wrestler, both fully clothed.
I don't think she thought they were.
Okay. I guess.
It was a warm-up. Maybe a dance even.
It was foreplay.
Yes, Craig.
Christ.
I don't know if you're familiar with that, but by the way, there's also a line here before then.
I'm a passionate lover.
I'm happy to hear. Okay. Happy to hear. Hunter, before he is caught with Trish, he got flowers for Stephanie to make up for the flowers she got for him that he threw away. But then when he learns he has to team with Trish, he's very upset and says, "You, her, all these other women, it's the same." And this made Stephanie mad. And then Stephanie caught Hunter with Trish. This brings us to Raw. It's in the Georgia Dome.
Crazy.
What do you call it? Not tarped off. Like they curtained
They rented half the building.
half the building, which is still 20-some thousand people.
Sure.
A very big crowd. Hunter arrives alone in a limousine. DX versus Steve Blackman and a partner in a hardcore match. So, of course, Mick Foley has forced Blackman to team with his old partner, Al Snow. So they're doing a hardcore match, and they're hitting each other with shit a lot.
Yes,
It's
they
very violent. There's no doubt about that. The early highlight is when Al Snow does the bowling ball to the crotch spot in the corner, and
Always a classic.
Road Dogg rolls into his belly and actually softly, but the camera's right there, but he softly moans, "Oh, my balls." So, as always, Blackman gets the Eskrima sticks, and X-Pac gets his kendo stick, and they're going to have a duel. And X-Pac is swinging his kendo staff to and fro like a samurai, and in the process, he accidentally bounces it off the mat. It goes flying, I swear to God, 30 feet up over his head into the crowd. He could try this 1,000 more times. And I'm sure this was an accident, too. If he tried to do this 1,000 times on purpose, it would never come off this perfectly. Eventually, they get the stick, which works out badly for X-Pac anyway. He loses the duel. But then Snow accidentally hits Blackman with something, and X-Pac hits an X-Factor on a chair for the win. Hell of a reunion for Head Cheese. Craig, your thoughts?
It was a hardcore match. There's nothing to say.
All right. Stephanie arrives at the building, also alone. Hunter comes out for a promo. Now, the first 2 or 3 minutes of this, it was the start of every 20-minute Raw promo ever, and I got bored very quickly, but that did not last. Says what happened with Trish was completely innocent. Stephanie's confused. His biggest mistake was not considering her feelings. They were both angry. When you're angry, you say things you don't mean. He asks her to come out.
That's not always true.
Sometimes when you're angry, you say things you do mean?
Mm-hmm. Most of the time, actually.
You're not doing Hunter any favors here, Brian. So, he asks Steph
Why start now?
to come out and accept his apology.
It's not my job to do him favors.
Steph comes out, but she's skeptical. First question, how would you feel if I was the one bent over in front of Kurt Angle? And Hunter made it clear he would not be happy about that. So he...
well, we learned something.
You gonna finish your thought there or what?
No. Self-explanatory, you idiot.
Okay. So Steph says...
This is not WWE where I have to explain every joke.
Ah, got it. So
that way.
Steph says that Hunter also, she's upset, he has been obsessed with Jericho and thus has paid no attention to her. But he has been paying attention to Trish. He denies anything between him and Trish and says, yes, I have been obsessed with Chris Jericho, but that's because of the horrible things he said about you, and I'm trying to defend you. You've been out here for a year with me now. You've seen all the pain and punishment I've gone through. That's nothing of the pain when I think of you leaving me. And here at this point, the tide starts to turn. Steph's eyes start to get doughy. The pain that I have felt my whole career is nothing to when you look at me like that. I gotta write that line down. That's a good one. It says, these are for you. Hence are more flowers. I'm sorry. I love you. If you forgive me, I'll be the happiest man in the world. And they have a great big smooch. I mean a big smooch. He dips her down. And then Mick Foley comes out to interrupt the heavy petting. So he's supposed to be fake crying about this. It appeared they gave him a bottle of Caro syrup and said, pour this over your face.
Yeah, that was, gross.
It's sticky, gross tears. So he shows the video from SmackDown in case any of us missed it. So after Steph caught Hunter with Trish, Hunter was so angry, he left the building, so the match never happened. Foley says, for this, you walked out of your scheduled match. I am fining you $5,000, which is nothing to you, but it's a warning. If it happens again, you are out of the WWF. And for tonight, I am booking the first ever husband-wife tag team match. Triple H and Stephanie against Lita and The Rock. Got all that?
Got it.
Cool. Victoria and the other hoes are protesting outside as Stevie Richards has banned them.
Third week in a row for Victoria.
Yeah,
I think she's a thing now.
Well, she's definitely a thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. She's going to be Victoria for a while. I don't think she's a hoe forever.
Good call.
There's a joke in there somewhere, but I'm going to leave it alone.
Edge and Christian versus the Hardys. We are told that after last week's attack by Shane and his friends, the Undertaker is out of the hospital, but he's nursing his severely injured knee. And at the same time, we are told Jericho is out with internal injuries that were inflicted by Chris Benoit. They had a 10-minute match squeezed into 3 minutes. Lita hits a diving Rana on Christian outside. The Hardys have the match one with the senton, and Christian pulls the ref out of the ring for the DQ. It was very lame. They hit a concerto on Jeff Hardy afterwards.
It's amazing going back and watching this, how many times Edge, Christian, the Hardys, and the Dudleys had matches that didn't mean anything.
Yes.
When they had some of the most blowaway matches of the Attitude Era.
You remember the 5% of the great ones. And forget the 95% of the nothing TV matches.
Exactly.
Shane and his crew are watching this. He gives them a pep talk until Foley interrupts. He books Big Show against Kane and Benoit and Angle. Not Benoit and Foley, as I've written here. Benoit and Angle against the Dudleys. We have more shots of the hoes protesting outside the building. Steph's very upset about the fact she has to wrestle tonight. Hunter promises, as long as we're together, everything's going to be fine. There's a knock on the door. Hunter's annoyed, but he goes to answer, and it's Trish. And he is scared shitless. Nothing good can happen here. But Trish comes in and is a complete mature adult. Stephanie is a complete mature adult. Trish apologizes for upsetting Stephanie, says it was an innocent mistake. There's nothing between us, and I hope we can still, understand. I hope it's all water under the bridge. Stephanie accepts her apology and forgives her, and everything's fine. A huge wave of relief washes over Triple H's face, and he closes the door behind Trish, and he turns back to Steph and starts talking, but now Steph is being honest. She is upset with Trish Stratus. I'm a woman, she says. I know how women are. She was looking at you with certain intentions. I don't like how you were looking at her either. And she turns her back, and Hunter just grabs his face. He's just miserable. This is so awesome because everything that's happening here is totally believable.
Oh, yeah.
Hunter, in this particular instance, is completely innocent. He has done nothing wrong. He is a victim. But he has been such an asshole on the show for so many years, you don't feel bad for him. You don't feel sympathy at all. I believe it's Schadenfreude. Is that how it's pronounced?
Yeah.
Thank you. The pleasure in someone else's pain. Doctor's attending to Jeff Hardy backstage after the concerto. Coachman then interviews Edge and Christian. His question is, you guys have now sunk so low as to swing chairs at Jeff Hardy?
Yeah, he's right.
They have, yes. They are laughing it off until Matt attacks, but then there's two of them and they kill him. We see clips from SmackDown of Jericho suffering internal injuries when Benoit drops a door on him. The big garage door closes on his gut.
Yes.
Kurt Angle and Chris Benoit versus the Dudleys.
Where's this team been all my life? How come this wasn't a regular team?
Angle and Benoit?
Yes.
They are in a few years. If we're still watching in 2002 and 2003,
okay.
They're teaming every week for a while.
Okay.
But yes, Kurt Angle and Chris Benoit were an excellent tag team. The Dudleys were an excellent tag team. And for a while, this was a fantastic TV match.
Very true.
And then 200 things happened at once. A backdrop got fucked up. Bubba hit a cutter. Shane hit a top rope elbow. This wasn't the finish. The ref gets bumped. 3D on Benoit. No referee. Big Show lays out Devon. Or Devon. Mm-hmm. Chokeslams Bubba. Puts Benoit on top. And finally, that's the pin. This was, by the end, a great mess of a match.
Yeah, it was good for 3 minutes and 40 seconds. And the subsequent 3 minutes and 21 seconds.
Pretty much.
Not so much.
Yes. So Steph, backstage again. She still has a match to prepare for. She wants Hunter to go over some stuff with her.
Oh, boy.
Hunter says, well, okay. Hunter, the cerebral assassin, has even scouted Lita. She likes that double leg dive, he notes, the spear she goes for. So when she tries that tackle, you grab that face lock. And he shows her how to do a front face lock. You grab her, and you lean back and choke her out. And she says, let me try it on you. And so Hunter dives in, and she grabs him, and she starts to choke. And he's done, but she leaves it in just a little bit longer. And he finally gets out, but he's a little upset. Then she says, okay, show me that move you were teaching Trish. And he freezes. And he knows it's a trap. He's trying to find a way out, but he can't find one. So he says, well, okay. If Lita grabs you for a hammerlock like this, and he gets behind her, and he says, now bend over and grab my leg. And she starts to bend over, and she's having trouble pulling it off. Hunter says, well, you're a little taller than Trish. And Stephanie snaps. Oh, you're saying I'm not built like Trish? My legs are too long for you and not petite like her? And Hunter is trying to calm her down. Let's try it again. Just bend over and grab my leg, Trish. I mean, Steph! This is the best thing I've ever seen.
Yes.
Like, as much as fondly as the storyline is remembered, you've all forgotten how great it really is. It's amazing. It is spectacular. It's the best.
Has this ever happened to you?
Not like this, no.
No, not this, but you just call somebody by the wrong name.
Thankfully, no.
I was in the kitchen cooking one time, and wife was there, had some friends over. Friend's wife's in the kitchen. Mm-hmm. I said, hey, babe, can you hand me that? And it was
not your wife?
No.
Yeah.
It was my buddy's wife.
If it's the buddy I'm thinking of, he has a hot wife.
Absolutely.
Okay, yeah. How did this resolve?
Just daggers.
You're still married.
I am.
Okay, good.
Okay.
All right. No harm, no foul.
I guess. Not at the time.
There was harm at the time. The Hoes are now in the building, chanting that they want to save the Hoes. Stephanie storms out of the building and into her car. To hell with the match, to hell with Mick Foley, and to hell with you, she says to Triple H, and she drives away. The right to censor now have a name, and Steven Richards uses that, and there's now 3 of them. Steven Richards, Bull Buchanan, and...
Brian, who do you think the third member is?
I wasn't listening.
The third member of Right to Censor, joining Steven Richards and Bull Buchanan.
I have no idea.
Craig, inform the man.
It's the Godfather.
Oh, yeah. The Good Father.
He is the good father now.
Yeah.
Yes. So...
He was upset last week when the hose got taken away from him.
Yeah, but it was not covered, but apparently on SmackDown and or Heat.
If you can't beat him, join him.
I guess so, yeah. I guess Godfather saw the light.
His pimping ways are done.
So as Steven Richards is asking security to eject the hose, the most uneventful fan run-in of all time happens. There's 20-some thousand people there. Godfather, Bull Buchanan, and Richards, Bull Buchanan, and Goodfather are in the ring. The fans are all focused on the women getting ejected, so no one even reacts when a fan hits the ring, and the camera immediately cuts away. All I could think was they must have got him out of there very quickly and without protest.
Yes.
Because Bull Buchanan and Godfather would kill this guy.
Yes.
I kill him. Dead. So Stephen buries scantily clad women and gratuitous violence. They say, we're getting rid of this for your own good. He begins to issue an open challenge when the acolytes come out. And Bradshaw preaches some rights that they have. They have the right to drink a lot of beer. The right to consort with half-naked women. And the right to kick their ass.
What if he still stands on these platforms?
I am by no means a constitutional scholar, but I have read it. Apparently I need to read it again. So we get the Acolytes versus RTC, an absolute, complete, and utter mess of a match, in a bad way. Farouk pins Buchanan with a power slam in a very shitty minute of wrestling. Michael Cole is at the Republican National Convention, where Linda McMahon is there saying their fans will elect the president. And they're going to register fans to vote.
Actually, they may have.
It was close enough.
They may have.
They sent...
Basically, anyone can claim they did.
Yeah.
You know.
They sent her as a spokesperson.
I'll have more to say about this later in the show. They have a message to politicians, a video package. All politicians. There are 14 million eligible voters watching Raw every week.
By the way, if you've ever been to a live event, you don't want these people's votes.
If you've ever been a politician, you'll take anybody's votes.
Okay.
Rikishi versus Taz. It was fun while it lasted. Taz hit an exposed turnbuckle shot in a Northern Lights suplex in the Taz mission, but Rikishi powered up, hit the Samoan drop for the win, and he danced with Too Cool, and that was that.
So Taz won, but not
No.
really. No, Rikishi won. I'm sorry.
Rikishi won.
Nobody got over.
If Rikishi was already over. They want to see the fat guy dance.
Taz has done nothing since he's been in WWE.
Yes. That's a fact. And he got hurt and came back, was attacking people randomly, and he cut that one promo, and
Yes.
here his finisher is overcome and he gets pinned clean. It's not looking bright for him.
No.
Hunter goes to meet with Foley, and now he's playing good cop. Boy, these marital things are a killer, aren't they, Mick? He says, yeah, they are. He says, I'm here to talk about business. You know I'm all about business. And the fact of the matter is, without Stephanie here, this match should probably be postponed. And Foley says, well, I can't do that. That's an advertised match. I can't postpone this match. It's very important. Hunter says, all right, if you can't postpone it, the only thing to do is I'll have to take on Rock and lead it by myself. Foley says, no, your elbow's all taped up. You're in a very fragile emotional state. You're going to need a partner, and it's going to be Trish Stratus. Because of course it is. And Hunter is outraged, and he storms off. More from the Republican National Convention and the WWF's non-partisan campaign to register fans to vote, and they're sure to say, we don't care who you vote for.
They're at the Republican National Convention.
And they did go to the Democrat convention too. But
did they?
It's Linda McMahon in 2019. We know who she wants you to vote for.
Sure.
It's pretty obvious. And really, anyone who tells you we don't care who you vote for, they're lying. They want you to vote for the person they're voting for. That's anyone. Eddie Guerrero and China versus Perry Saturn and Val Venus. Perry Saturn, speaking of Saturn, is becoming the size of a planet. He's enormous now. So Eddie Guerrero was awesome. China was not awesome, but she was loved. It was very over when she was in. She fucked up the hot tag in a bad way, but Eddie was awesome enough to save it. And then Saturn whips Eddie into the ropes. And Eddie somehow turns a gut-wrench slam into a Hurricane Rana. I watched it like 5 times. I'm still not sure how he pulled it off, but it was great. And he pinned him. It was awesome.
Yeah, turns out Eddie Guerrero was a really good wrestler.
Eddie Guerrero, very good at pro wrestling.
China did one of those things where, you go to tag, but you don't actually make the tag. Mm-hmm. And so, it's a shoot. So you have to tag, and Eddie just, jumped in anyway because he's a pro.
Because he's Eddie. Our third election segment. It's going to be a very long fall of 2000 here. Cole interviews Linda, who lists all the Republican activities she has been taking part in as part of her non-partisan campaign. Dean Malenko and some women are at WWF New York. That was their whole bit this week.
Yes.
Hunter is backstage stretching. Trish arrives to go over their match. He blows up, throws her out of the room, slams the door behind her. Nothing good can happen. Big Show and Kane is supposed to happen, but everyone in Team Shane attacks Kane. He's able to chokeslam Benoit, but then he's overwhelmed until the Dudleys save with chairs, and that was the whole segment. Hunter and Trish are walking to the ring for their match. There's a movie coming out, I think it's called 5 Feet Apart.
Yeah, this was 12.
There's the 10-foot pole Hunter has gone to not touch Trish with is between them. And then Rock and Lita go for a walk, and we get Triple H and Trish Stratus versus Rock and Lita. Hunter's out there trying to do his entrance, so he's on the stage like in the dark with the flashing lights all around him, and as music's going, and Trish comes out and stands next to him, and you see his head slowly pivot and look at her and then jump away. Mm-hmm. He's just irritated now. Nothing. Just having a rotten day, Triple H is. So the match begins. The one thing I will say about all this is that, it's The Rock, and obviously he turned out okay, but my God, was the World Heavyweight Champion a total afterthought on this show.
Yes.
Like a waste of The Rock. So they're doing this match. Hunter, it's supposed to be, I guess it's supposed to be only men versus men and vice versa.
Yeah.
So Hunter lariats Lita for the heat like a dick. And he threatens to pedigree her until Rock saves. And then they go back and forth for a while. And finally, what the hell happened? Trish rakes the Rock's eyes. Rock is able to catapult Hunter into Trish and then hit her with a spine buster. Crowd goes crazy for this. Rock then tags in Lita, who looks at Trish, and she's very, very, very far away. But Lita's going to hit that moonsault, and she hit it. I hope Trish was okay. And Lita gets the pin. And the big finish is Hunter goes to attack Rock again, but Rock fights back. He lays Hunter out, and Hunter collapses on top of Trish in what would be called a 69 position.
Write that down, Brian.
Everyone laughs. The Rock is disgusted, but he's also entertained, and the show ends. I thought this was a very good show.
Very fun main event.
All right, you ready?
I'm ready, Brian.
All right.
The finishes on this show were decisive pin in a hardcore tag match, DQ due to attack on a referee, pin after copious interference, pin in a mess of a tag match, and then clean pin, clean pin, clean pin.
That's it?
That's it.
Yeah, man.
We got Matt Hardy on the line. Matt, how you doing today?
Very good. How are you, Dave?
I'm doing really good. It's a pleasure to have you on the show.
All right,
and,
good to be here.
Matt, I guess we should talk a little bit about, we had Shannon Moore on the show a couple weeks back, and, we talked about his breaking into wrestling, and your breaking in was kind of unique because you and Jeff are, in many ways, you're kind of self-taught in your backyard, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, in all actuality, if you'd like me to go into it, I'd love to.
Yeah, go ahead, yeah.
I've done it a million times. Basically one Christmas, we got a trampoline, and our dad had given us a trampoline for Christmas. Jeff and I, being big fans of the business, we used to get on our trampoline and we'd kind of teach each other wrestling moves, whatever we saw on TV. We'd emulate it and just try and copy exactly what they do on TV. And then that led to us, going out in the woods. And we live out in the country here. We cut down 4 trees and took some garden hose and put wire in it. And we dug holes and built a little wrestling ring around the trampoline, that was probably 10 by 10, 12 by 12. And we would go, just study a match and almost write down move for move. And we would go out into the ring and then duplicate it. Then later, after we kind of, taught ourselves the gist of how to do all the moves, we would just go out there and wrestle each other and, do our own little match and make it up as we went. We even got to the point after we did that. I mean, this was like at ages, 10 and 13 when we first did this. And we went on to the point where we would save up our money for a month or so, and we'd run a video camera on the weekend, and Jeff and I would dress up as 7 or 8 different characters. We would wrestle each other. We would have 7 or 8 different matches, have like a little, what we called a pay-per-view. And we would do that, and every couple of months we would do that, and eventually, a couple years later, we were able to get a pay-per-view, and we filmed probably like 50 of those shows, just like in our backyard, and that's more or less where we like taught ourselves, the moves and, wrestling to a degree. From there we met a guy who was doing local outlaw shows at county fairs, and this guy said, "Hey, I heard you guys wrestle in your backyard," and there's a couple other little boys. And actually, Shannon came over with Jeff. I mean, Shannon was probably, the first time he ever came over was, 9 or 10 years old, because he was a buddy of Jeff's. He lived still a couple miles from us. And we had a couple other guys. This guy at the fair said, "Hey, I heard you and some guys wrestle in your backyard. Would you like to come wrestle for me?" And this guy, he didn't know anything about the business as far as that goes. He was just a carny. We said, "Yeah, sure, man. It'd be a blast." He had a ring that was like 20 by 20, and in the middle it had a trampoline that was probably, 10 by 12 or so, and on each side he had just sheets of plywood and steel that was like a concrete floor. If you can envision what I'm saying, kind of had a rectangular trampoline in the middle. Mm-hmm. And we did that at his fair show, and it was unbelievable because it was the first time we ever wrestled in front of a crowd. And I remember that feeling was like no other. And Jeff and I, we wrestled each other that night. It was just the best feeling ever because we wrestled forever just in front of our backyard, in front of trees as audience. But after doing that first show with that guy, he said, "Well, this is pretty good, but I don't know if I'll make any money with this ring." So Jeff and I, we ended up saving up some money. Now at this time we were probably 18. I was 18 or so. Jeff was 15, 17, 14. We ended up buying that ring from that guy. We made him payments on it like $50 a month. We bought the ring from him and converted it back to a solid regular ring, 16 by 16. And we went from there and started doing like our own shows. We would actually, rent the Armory, down in a local town near us in Southern Pines. We had another town in Stanford. We did a few shows there, and we'd also do that county fair every year. And while we were doing one of our shows at a county fair, a guy who was a local independent wrestler, Eddie Rainwater, came to one of our shows, and we talked to him and met him. He was wrestling for the Italian Stallion. I'm sure you remember him, right?
Sure.
Gary Stabaugh.
Yeah.
He said, "Well, you guys are pretty talented." He said, "You just need to kind of learn the fundamentals of the business." I mean, we didn't know anything about how that you work the left or anything about psychology. We were just, guys who did moves, obviously. And he said, "Well, come with me, and, I'll introduce you to the Italian Stallion. He might do something for you guys." Introduced us to the Stallion. We started working with him occasionally. He was doing a couple shows every week in North Carolina, South Carolina, Virginia. We started, driving a couple times a week, doing shows for him. And eventually that led to us going to a TV taping at, WWF. And from there we worked with the Stallion a little bit. He was taking a huge booking fee. We'd make $150 a night for 3 nights. Remember when they would do, the 3-night taping?
Yeah.
Once a month? We would make $150 a night, and he would take $100 as his percentage from our booking fee. And at this point, like myself, Jeff, and Jason Art and Joy Abb, he was going, and also another guy, Marty Garner, Champagne. Does that name ring a bell at all?
Oh, yeah, sure.
And us 4 guys were going. Eventually, we talked to Chief Jay Strongbow, and he started booking us on our own, which we got to do a little more. We started doing a few dart matches here and there. And a couple years later, they said something to Jeff and I about they might have some ideas for us. And, eventually we signed a developmental deal, and it led to here. That's kind of everything in a nutshell.
When now, was there anyone? I remember when you first broke in the WWF. it was like you were kind of like there to, it looked like you were there to on syndication. You kind of started at the bottom of the barrel in that it didn't seem like you weren't brought in with this major push or anything like that.
No, actually, like I've always told people, I mean, whenever we signed that first developmental deal, which was in April of '98, I mean, whenever we first came on TV, it was just like a continuance of, the time-to-time jobs we've been doing. I mean, we were just brought in still more or less, we got a win over Conti, our first match, and the next night we got a win over Too Much, and then we lost 50 times straight again. But, that was cool by us because we were making a regular paycheck. We just, we had worked so hard to get to that level. That was cool. We were willing to do anything. We were going to work really hard to prove ourselves. So, from there, we just continued to work hard and hard and hard. And whenever people saw that, wow, these guys can go out and have, pretty good matches with almost anybody on a regular basis, eventually, Vince and a couple of guys got behind us. They said, well, let's actually try and do a little something with them.
Did you get a feeling at any one point that there was something? Because I noticed, it was one of those gradual things where you see guys doing jobs on TV, and you're kind of like, and Cornette used to really, on the syndicated shows when he did the commentary, he would always really push, you guys more than the typical job guys, and you kind of just, and you would throw in some really flashy moves, and it was almost like, these guys actually are pretty good. They're not just typical guys just running out there just getting slaughtered. And then, it was a real gradual thing because I can't even point to a thing. I mean, everyone knows the ladder match, but, you'd already gotten a break, in tag team titles a couple times and the thing with Michael Hayes and everything. And then I think that, everyone started probably really catching on with that ladder match, which wasn't all that long ago.
Right. Well, that's definitely when we turned the corner. I mean, that was the point, like you said, we've been tag team champions, but still, I mean, we almost didn't feel accepted. I mean, after we did the ladder match, I think for myself, Jeff, Edge, and Christian, then we knew we had something to offer the company. We knew we had something to contribute, and that's when we really all kind of turned the corner.
That was
going back to Jim Cornette too. He was always a big supporter of ours. Even after Chief Jay Strongbow kind of helped us out, just getting our foot in the door on our own, just for doing TV. Jim Cornette kind of picked up the ball and ran with us from there, and he was always saying, "Yeah, I'm pushing for you guys to try and do this or do that," and I got some ideas. And Jim. You know how he was. He was kind of hit and miss with WWF. But, like I said, we really owe him a lot because he did, put a lot of faith in us, and we appreciate that.
Brian, I guess we're catching on because we have full phone lines, which actually is usually the case, but they are all women.
Uh-oh. Hey, Matt, how did the WWF rings compare to the rings you used in your backyard work?
Well, when we first went up to WWF, before the rings were changed, they were really bad. I mean, they were built for 300-pound guys, 350-pound guys, and for us 220-pounders, they didn't bump that much. Now they're good actually. The ring that we had in our backyard wasn't built very well. I mean, it bumped pretty good because it was weak and wasn't a great ring to take around and travel with, but. The WWF ring now is great. I mean, it bumps as good or better than our backyard ring did.
How do you and Jeff both feel physically? Because you do a very high risk style. You're both pretty young, so you can recover quickly. I mean, have you thought about future, like how long you want to be wrestling? Because I remember when Shannon Moore was on the show, it sort of stunned me because I think he's 20 years old.
Yeah.
And when we were sort of talking to him about. Wrestling, he goes, I'd like to do it for 5 more years, which is, I was just stunned because, nobody that's 20 usually thinks of, 5 more years.
Right.
But maybe that's the state of the game. I don't know.
Well, I don't know. Shannon and Jeff are a lot alike, though. They're best friends, and we've got a lot of our guys. Too, even before. Well, let me go ahead and answer your question first. Physically, I feel really good still now. I don't do as much as Jeff does, obviously, and Jeff. The gimmick that we play now is almost how Jeff really is. I mean, Jeff doesn't think about what's going to happen next, or, Jeff doesn't really think about the future. Jeff just full bore at that given time, which bless his heart, it's great, and that's him. But, I think more too. Jeff almost does to me high spots. I'm almost trying to limit myself to doing other stuff in the match, so that we have more of a complete match. But physically, I feel good, and Jeff physically is good. I think Jeff mentally is burnt out a little bit. That's probably more. I know there's such a, on the internet, there's such a big rumor that Jeff is hurt physically and in bad shape and slowing down. And, physically he's not. I mean, he's probably tired from being on the road. We've been on the road almost 2 years now. Mentally, I think he's a little drained just because we're constantly doing something. Just like, we just got home today and I'm still a little sick and I'm tired. and we've got an appearance tomorrow, and we don't ever have, 4 or 5 days off in a row. I mean, that's like non-existent for us now because we're like those guys in the middle that are still pretty popular that, if they drop a hat, they can stick us on an appearance, and, we'll do okay. So, I mean, our schedules really, ask a lot of us, and I think it burns Jeff out a little bit, because he's younger. And myself, I have a little bit more of a love for the business, I think, than Jeff does. I mean, Jeff could probably say, he might wrestle 5 or 6 years and retire if everything's good, but, I can foresee myself, wrestling for as long as I feel good and healthy, and then even being in the business, thereafter in some capacity.
I want to mention a couple of quick news notes and also something clarifying something I said earlier. Email will have press conference today for their pay-per-view, which is on August the 4th, only in Mexico. The Piero Mascar Año 2000 versus Perro Aguayo Villano. Actually, it's a 4-man match. It's going to be a cage match, which will be the first cage match ever at Arena Mexico. Let's see. And as far as Ali and Joe Bugner, okay, I was so wrong. I mean, they did fight twice. They fought in 1973 a 12-round decision, which Ali won, and then they had a rematch in 1975, which Ali won on a 15-round decision. So he beat him handily in both fights, but he never KO'd him. So anyway, just want to clarify all that. And let's start with the phone callers. It's Elizabeth and Tooney from California. You're up with Matt Hardy.
Hello?
Hey.
Hello? Hi. Or sorry,
Hi.
Dave, we're not male callers.
Oh, no, you don't. No, it's just kind of unique to this show.
Well, you'll have to excuse my shy compadre on the phone, but I just want to say that I had the chance to meet you at the Access in Anaheim, and you saved my day, year, my life. So just thank you on being there. And, well, my first question was, like, how do you feel about getting a well-deserved push? Like, if you guys haven't had one in the past, do you ever feel like used or unappreciated or anything like that?
Matt, did you hear that?
No, actually, could you repeat it? I couldn't hear it all.
Oh, so this goes, how do you feel about, getting a push, and before you got the push, did you kind of feel like unappreciated?
Maybe. I mean, but not really. I mean, Jeff and I, we've never really had big egos. I mean, the way we've been brought up, we've never had big egos. I mean, I'm happier being there, and being able to make a good paycheck and being happy in, what I'm doing as my occupation as far as wrestling and, not sitting around and sulking because, we don't have a big push. I mean, it's definitely nice, and I hope we get more of one in the future. I mean, I kind of, really, when I look back in retrospect, I'm happy of how it's been such a gradual deal, how we started out, as nothing, and, we built up a little ways, and then, we'll drop back down a little bit, and then we'll go up again and drop back down. That's kind of the way the WWF does things. So everything's been great. I have nothing to complain about right now.
How does it feel as far as, like, in the last year or so, and maybe longer, when you first started getting you probably got some adulation on the independent scene, but it was, limited.
Sure.
And then all of a sudden you're WWF stars. It's kind of like larger than life. I mean, it's something that, like, realistically, not that many wrestlers in the past, only the top ones had to, were like in that position. And now pretty much everyone with a minor push into the WWF is, kind of is it sometimes overwhelming, because of the popularity of the WWF at the present time?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think sometimes, really right now, we can't digest it all. I think maybe later we can. I mean, really, when I stop back and think, I mean, really everything we ever wanted to accomplish in wrestling, well, I've always said, like when we first wrestled for WWF, just doing a job match, I said, well, if we never do anything else, I fulfilled a dream and I wrestled in WWF, so that was great. And then I said, when we got a contract, well, if I never do anything else, we got a contract, that's great. Then we won the World Tag Team titles. And I said, well, if we never did anything else, we, won the World Tag Team titles. We had a huge match at WrestleMania. And, if I had to quit wrestling right now, I've fulfilled most everything we wanted to do. We've had shirts and action figures and posters, and it's great. And I think it is hard to take in. I mean, it's almost so overwhelming, I don't try and digest it all at one time. I mean, probably when I stop wrestling, I'll look back in retrospect and say, wow, we had a lot of stuff going on. I just try and take it a day at a time right now,
Yeah, there was someone who said, when did you and Jeff start wrestling in the WWF? Like, just like the first times, like when you were brought to a taping?
In May of '94.
Okay, because somebody said that they have results dating back to '93. Oh no, he has results of '93, but he started noticing your names in '94, so that would be right, along with Barry Hardy, right?
Yeah, well, we weren't associated with him in any way.
Oh, okay, he was just one of the. Okay. So that would be 6 years ago. So Jeff would have been, what, 17? Is that
16.
Right?
Actually,
16?
I'll tell you, this is a funny story, too. When we first went up, with the Italian Stallion. He just needed guys because, you know, he was getting a big booking fee anyway, so he would carry 13 or 14 guys, and you know, he would make a good little payday for 3 days. But Jeff was only 16. He said, well, just get me a note from your dad and it'll be okay. So then whenever we got up there, Stallion, he's a little on the shady side anyway. And whenever we got up to the WWF, we were filling out our releases, and he told Jeff, he said, well, just move your birthday back 2 years, you know, from 77, moving it back to 1975. So that was kind of funny. Jeff wrestled his first ever match against Scott Hall at 16 years of age up in Ohio, Youngstown. Youngstown, Ohio. He wrestled Scott Hall, and it was only like his 7th match in a hard ring, technically, his 7th real match. And it was like my 8th real match in a ring. I wrestled on live TV. Maybe I just turned 19. I was either 18 or 19 against Nikolai Volkov.
Wow. Now, you guys have also been in a lot of other places. You've been in Japan, and you've been in Japan, right, Matt?
No, Jeff has. Actually,
Jeff was the only one who went his Will o' the Wisp?
Jeff went his Will o' the Wisp, and we were getting ready to go right after we signed our WWF deal as the Hardy Boys, and they put the X-May on that.
Okay.
Right before we went.
Okay. Let's go to Amy in Las Vegas. Amy, you're next up.
Hello.
Hello.
Hey.
Hi. I have more of an interesting question for Matt, actually, and it's not necessarily a question that relates to the in-the-ring wrestling as much as it relates to his website. And I know that there's been somewhat of a controversy surrounding how it ended, and I'm not really asking anybody to explain how it ended. I just wanted to know, Matt, if there was anything that you wanted to say to us fans. How do you feel?
Okay, I can hear part of that. Could you also help me translate that?
It was basically, and actually we had a lot of emails about this. It's just about, like, your website. What's the situation with that?
Well, actually, for some reason, there was a girl who we met at the WrestleMania Rage Party before 15. Her name was Katya, and she had been doing a website on us, and nobody was really following us at this time, and she said, hey, can I do your guys' official website? And I was like, yeah, sure, whatever. And there was another guy who lives in the area who used to follow us on Independent Wrestling who she knew, and she kept emailing and writing letters and this, that, and the other thing. Well, give the Hardy Boys my phone number and give them my address. I've got all this website. I want them to see them, and I want them to give me input. And eventually we did, and we said, yeah, sure. I mean, we didn't have a lot of stuff going on at this time, and we let her do it. And as time went on, you know, the website got bigger, and it became really popular. But for some reason, it seemed like, you know, there was always trouble with, you know, as far as her running the website. There was always, you know, just controversy and trouble. And like as time went on, apparently she said someone hacked into the website, and, you know, I had people sending me emails that said, you know, this girl's doing this wrong or doing that. And I don't have any evidence of that, but since she'd shut it down since it's been hacked, there's just been so much trouble, and it's been such a big headache for me because, like, you know, I took care of that. Almost our roles, too, in wrestling. I mean, Jeff
wasn't the same lady that did Shannon Moore's website, was it?
As far as the business aspect. But anyway, you know, it's been such a headache for me trying to deal with that. You know, I just thought to go ahead and leave it down. And, you know, I'd like to have up a website, and I'm sure we will in time. You know, if people can just be patient. But, I mean, for now, there's just been so much controversy around that one website, and it's been kind of a headache. So I didn't need to deal with it with everything else I've got going on.
Growing up in the Carolinas, were you a big wrestling fan? Both big wrestling fans, obviously, as kids. And who did you? I mean, was there anyone that you patterned yourself after? Like, was Jeff a big fan of Shawn Michaels? Because that's the one who a lot of people compare him to. Or
yeah, we were initially. Our two big. Jeff was a big fan of Sting and the Ultimate Warrior. You know, when we wrestled on little videos, he would paint his face and emulate those guys. And you know, we saw more NWA than we did WWF down here. You know, just being from this region, we would get to go out to some of those shows and everything. I was a big, ironically enough, Fabulous Freebird fan. I loved Michael Hayes and Jimmy Garvin in the NWA days. And, you know, that was ironic that later we would end up, you know, with Michael Hayes. And, you know, I have to say something for Michael Hayes, too, now. He's still one of the you know, biggest driving forces behind us. He still does a lot to help Jeff and I really appreciate him. Michael Hayes, you know, been there, of course, ever since we got to know that guy, and he still helps us to this day. But, you know, Macho Man, I was a big Randy Savage fan, too. As time went on and we started understanding wrestling and what it was about more, you know, obviously we were both attracted towards Shawn Michaels. You know, I think all of us up there now, you know, from Edge and Christian and, you know, Jericho, all of us, you know, kind of had that attraction towards Shawn Michaels. And I think he set the standard for, you know, how wrestling would be for the next few years because he had such the ultimate package of everything. Besides being such a great, entertaining wrestler, he had such personality and such charisma. I mean, he was the whole package there. And he was, you know, a smaller guy. He wasn't 6'8", and your standard 350-pound wrestler that the WWF promoted for all these years.
What was your feeling as far as, or did you even think about, because, you're mentioning that, the WWF for forever was noted, it was almost one of those things where if you're a small guy, it's really not the place to go because you won't get a break. And Shawn Michaels being the exception, but he was the exception. Mm-hmm. And then here you guys were, small guys, and you're in the WWF. Was it just one of those things where, or did you just see that the barrier was breaking down, and it was ability that was counting more than size?
Yeah, I think we did. And plus, that was really the only open door we had at that time. I mean, there were times when we were doing whenever we were doing TVs at WWF, I mean, I would give tapes to people at WCW, and actually we spoke with a few people at ECW right before we signed with WWF as well. But WWF was just it was always there, and we could always get a little work here and there, and it seemed like there might be a little light at the end of the tunnel. And really, I didn't even try to think of things like that. I just believe if you worked hard enough and you gave all you got, eventually you could overcome whatever odds there would be. I kind of had that blind faith.
This is from someone who emails us in and goes, what's your favorite wrestling match that you've ever seen?
That I've ever seen personally?
Yeah.
I would have to say that definitely at the time. I mean, the first ladder match we ever saw. I was a huge fan of that.
Was that Michaels and Razor Ramon?
Michaels and Ramon, the first one from WrestleMania. That went down as my favorite ladder match forever.
Yeah.
And yeah, I was just going to say, too, I'm sure, even, Edge and Christian, going back to those, but, it's kind of, myself, Jeff, Edge and Christian was kind of, came along at the same time. We're all really close, and we love working with each other, obviously, and it was great that, we were all four fans of that match. It was our idea. That Terry Invitational tournament was actually our idea, and the ladder match was something we pitched, and that made it even more special when it was something that, we came up with, and it was kind of the thing that helped get us all over the edge.
So was that best of? Was that like from watching like a Nikita Koloff and Magnum TA, or was it? Or did that have nothing to do with it? Like kind of best of series?
No, not really. We just knew that we could go out and do 5 matches. Actually, we wanted to do 7 initially. Because we knew we could go out and do 7 matches that were completely different and still be entertaining. I guess with that, being the best 3 out of 5 wasn't spawned off from anything else. I mean, it was just we were wanting to, try and work with something and, give people a little bit of drama, something to follow that we were involved in. We were just really happy that, sometimes it's hard to get, things to go that way, if you want to do something special, if you have an idea, and luckily we got to do that.
Let's start hitting some phone calls. Let's go to Kaylin in New Jersey. Kaylin, you're here with Matt Hardy.
Hi.
Hey, how are you?
I'm fine, thank you. How are you?
Go ahead.
Could you hear me?
We hear you perfectly. Matt, can you hear her?
I can hear a little bit.
Yeah, he can hear you.
Oh, I can't hear him at all.
Turn your speaker down, though.
Turn my speaker down? Okay, that's
turn your speaker down.
Okay. Sorry, my dog, I'm talking to the plane in the background. But, I was going to ask Matt how he liked his current angle with Lita.
And what's the question about Lita?
How do you like working with Lita?
It's good. I like it a lot. Once again, she's someone else who trained a little bit, and she kind of came along and used to work out with us here in the Omega group, so to say. And, with Lita out there, it kind of gives us, something else to play with outside the ring. I love to kind of sit back and think of different combinations of stuff we can do with, a girl here and there. And Lita, she's still real limited, and she's learned a lot, but there's a lot that she can do, a lot more than, most females in wrestling, which gives us a lot to toy with and play with and, come up with some real interesting combinations to make the crowd excited.
What do you think of the fact, my impression just from watching TV Monday and the pay-per-view, and then just seeing the results from last night, I get the impression that she's in a real good role right now, that they're real high on her.
Yeah, they are. They're very high on her. Besides just, one of the things, too, they're real high on attitude now, and she's also got a really good attitude. She's once again, she's real talented. Like I said, she's still learning a lot, and she's got the ability and the capacity to learn, and she wants to learn, which is real good. And she's got an open attitude where she'll do whatever, and I think they definitely have big plans for her. She's kind of like the, as I said, Shawn Michaels set the role for how women, how men will be in America for the next few years. I think she's kind of doing that for how women will be in America for the next few years.
Did she or you guys ever watch Japanese tapes or Mexican tapes to come up with stuff? Like I know, like because for women wrestling, there's really not a lot of role models, I guess, among wrestlers in the United States. But whereas like the Japanese had some phenomenal workers and even today they have some phenomenal workers.
Well, I don't think she's seen a lot. I think it would be good for her. I've told her that several times. It would be good for her to sit down and watch some stuff. Actually, I'd like to try and get her some stuff. I've watched some stuff here and there. I try and most anything I can get my hands on, I try and watch because I try and learn all I can. But I think that would definitely be good for her because she's still athletically she's really amazing and she's tough. She's probably as tough as they come, and she's got a lot of potential. I just hope I hope she can fulfill all that potential that she has. And once again, I think they're going to give her the opportunity to because they really like her.
What's your thoughts as far as the camps that you attended with Dory Funk Jr. and I guess Edge and Christian did as well? All you guys, I guess, did that stuff before. I guess you were in the WWF and you'd all signed, and they kind of like sent you there for some polish and everything.
Right. Well, it was actually good just because, with the stuff Jeff and I kind of learned our own, even the stuff we learned with Stallion. I mean, we even went back to the very basics, and even though we knew how to do them at that point, still we tightened them up and we polished them. And it's funny now because the way wrestling is on TV, you never use any of that. There's never any time to do that. It'd be great to be able to go out and have a 30-minute match and take your time, and the crowd really wouldn't buy into it as much now. But I still think there's a lot of stuff left to be done, and I'm sure that'll come back around in time. With the way TV is now, we go out there and we have 5 minutes from beginning to end, and you go out there and you jam in, whatever you're going to do in the match, and it's more or less built around the angle now.
Let's go to Amy in New Jersey. Amy, you're next up.
Hi.
Hey, how are you?
Good.
I'm doing good.
This is kind of a weird question, but I wanted to ask Matt if his relationship with Jeff has changed at all since being in the WWF.
Did you hear that, Matt?
No, I couldn't hear all.
Oh, okay. Has your relationship with Jeff changed at all since you've been in the WWF?
Maybe it has a little bit because now Jeff and I are still real close, but now there's a big difference. Like Jeff has moved into his own place now. Like he's kind of got, Jeff's got a lot of responsibility on his own. I know whenever we were at home before, we were like together all the time. But now it's almost to the point where like when we're on the road, we're together for 5 or 6 days straight, and then like when we come home for the two days or whatever, I never see him. Which it has changed a little bit. I don't know. I guess we're together so much now. He needs some time to himself or whatever. I think he needs time to himself to kind of refresh himself because really sometimes he gets aggravated from doing so much because Jeff's a really unique person. And I think everyone should meet Jeff because there's nobody else like him in the world. I mean, you can tell his wrestling style is different, but even his personality is really different from anyone else you ever meet. Jeff needs time alone and everything. It has changed a little bit, I think, where we're not together all the time. I can tell there's he wants a little bit of separation just because he's always in such a public eye now. Wherever we go places, people recognize us, and he never has any time alone. And I think Jeff's one of those people who just needs to, isolate himself for a little while, be by himself, and kind of, sort out his thoughts and whatnot, and get himself together. If that makes any sense.
Have you guys ever? I mean, I guess it's like almost an inevitability that the day will come when you split up the team. I mean, is there any time soon, or is it something that you just kind of know is going to happen at some point?
I don't think it'll be anytime soon. I'm sure down the road it would happen sometime. I mean, there's been several rumors of it. I mean, there's never been anything ever said to us about it. Because I don't think they've really thought about that. I mean, there's still so much left for us as a tag team to do. I mean, I don't think we've ever had, we've never really developed our personalities. And, I know there's a lot of people too that say, well, the Hardys don't really have personality or don't have this and that. And actually we do. I don't know. Did you get to see, Dave, I'll ask this of you. Did you see the Sunday Night Heat where we did an interview a couple weeks ago where I asked to build off some stuff and then Lita said a couple things and then we kind of left and Jeff said, what up, Coach?
No, I didn't see that.
But I don't know if you saw it or not. But that really was like us, and that's kind of how it is because like I'm on top of everything and I'm the one that's kind of like decided a game plan, and then Jeff is just there in his own little world. But I think we've still got that. We've got to develop a personality as a tag team, and then I would love to have a little, a tag team title reign where, we were really the tag team at that time. I think we still got that left to do as a tag team. But, eventually they'll come and, that'll be fine. We both accept that, I'm sure. And, I'm cool to do whatever.
Obviously you've done,
I feel
mostly...
comfortable in whatever they, they'll ask us to do.
Brian, go ahead.
I was just going to say, obviously you've done, mostly tag work, but you've done some singles matches as well. And from what you've done, do you like doing tag work better, or do you not even care, or do you like singles work?
Yeah, no, actually, I like tag team work better, just because there's more combinations, there's more original stuff you can do. There's, in the wrestling world we see now, with so much programming, wrestling's so watered down. You see so much of it on TV anyway. It's hard to come out and do original stuff that the crowd goes, wow, I've never seen that before. And still, whenever you do tag team matches, there's still a lot of combination of stuff to do. Actually, whenever we had our 6-man on pay-per-view this Sunday, I still got a ton of more ideas if we had, if we could do it. I don't know if it would be with Trish and TNA. If we had, another tag team and another female that, Jeff and I and Lita could do. There's still, I've got a whole lot of more ideas that, I would love to see done in one of those matches. That would be really cool.
How open are they to ideas, like when you guys are putting together a match? You've talked a lot about how you have a ton of ideas, and you came up with the concept of ladder match and everything like that. Are they pretty okay with it when you want to put a match together, or do they kind of, sometimes for pay-per-view matches want to do a lot of it for you?
You mean
as far as the booking committee?
Excuse me?
Like Pat Patterson and.
Yeah, how open are they to you? If you have suggestions, they're pretty open for your suggestions?
Yeah, actually, we've kind of established ourselves to the point where they're very open to our suggestions. I think there might come times where, if they would give us certain matches, they might want to, eventually tone down stuff we do, here and there. But they're very open to our suggestions, actually. It's changed a lot. I think we've just kind of proven ourselves, especially in, in ladder matches and table matches and stuff like that. We've been able to go out and do different matches, and, they haven't been, disasters. They've been pretty good, so I think we've kind of proven ourselves.
What was your thoughts, and what was the thoughts of the people in the company when Jeff did that one spot where he jumped off that really high ladder through the table?
Well, people, they weren't really surprised that he did that. Just knowing him, but it was actually one of those things where, we'd ask Jeff that, it was, I don't know what, a 14-foot ladder, whatever. You're talking about WrestleMania, obviously.
Right.
I told Jeff, too, I said, probably be better not to be on the top rung just because it'd be a little safer to be down one, and you'd probably get the same effect of it, the ladder would be a little more stable. But, I knew automatically telling him that he was going to come off the top. And I don't know, Jeff, he's been lucky so far as doing things like that. And, everybody just kind of expects that of him. He definitely, the characters that we play now as far as being, extreme and fearless and reckless, that's really Jeff. I'm not as fearless and as reckless, as recklessness, my recklessness is not as quite as extreme as Jeff is, but, it was almost expected of him. People have told him, I'll take it back to, some people in the company have told him to slow down, not do as much stuff here and there, but, with that being WrestleMania, I think, it was one of those scenarios where kind of anything goes. And, we were going to let it all hang out for our first WrestleMania anyway.
Now, has there ever been a spot that you came up with and they basically said, no, let's not do that one? That's too dangerous.
You said, has there ever been a spot that we came up with and they said no?
Yeah, where the management just goes, no, we would rather you didn't do that one.
Yeah, there has been a few times.
Anything in particular, or?
I don't. Actually, we had one time we were going to do something in a WrestleMania ladder match with handcuffs bumping off the ladder, and they didn't want us to do that. Mm-hmm. That's one. There's been a few other times here and there, just different bumps, and probably because the importance of the match wasn't relevant enough to do that bump in. But they've just said, I'd rather not have you do that there. I think we should save that, or whatever.
Mm-hmm. What were your thoughts as far as in wrestling in the last 2 years, I guess, really? In many ways, the bar has been raised so much that, in the moves that were in 1996 considered spectacular are now almost commonplace to the point that sometimes I almost wonder if they're worth the injury risk. Like some of the more spectacular dives that people don't even really react to like they did a couple of years ago, and now after I guess the Mick Foley match at Hell in the Cell, I mean, it's a whole new level for those things. Does it kind of scare you at times? Even though I know your stuff is kind of under control compared to Jeff.
Sure.
But
right.
Yeah,
I mean, yeah, it does. I mean, Jeff scares me, part of the time as far as it goes, because I tell Jeff, I really want Jeff to think about, 5 years from now. I don't want him to think about how he's gonna, feel in, the next 2 weeks, although he's fine right now. I mean, I think, especially, on TV week to week, there's such a, there's so much emphasis on, Raw has to be awesome, going against Nitro, and everybody kind of wants to raise the bar, try this and try that. I mean, you got to go out and continually put out a good product, I think. But if you are going to take, a big chance, it should be, you should save it for the right occasion. I know we've got SummerSlam coming up. We're going to be in Raleigh, and I'm hoping, we're in some kind of, good feature match there. I mean, that would be an opportunity where, it would be worth taking a chance, I think.
Now, do you have any idea who your opponents are going to be in Raleigh?
No, I don't.
Okay.
Actually, I certainly don't. I can say though, I would love for it to be Edge and Christian. The tag team title. The Dudleys. Also have to put a plug in for those guys. We definitely enjoy working with those guys.
Let's go to Tim in Virginia. Tim, what's going on?
Hey, Dave. Love the show.
Thank you very much.
Hey, Brian.
Hey.
Hey, Serge, Matt. How's it going?
Hey, man. What's going on?
Not too much. Few questions. I know you probably don't get as much of a chance to watch tapes anymore, but is there anyone outside the WWF that you would like for the Hardy Boys to wrestle right now?
Outside of the WWF? Just Shannon Chainsaw, I'd love to wrestle 3 count one time. That'd be fun. That'd be fun for us, I'm sure. I don't know. Yeah, that's kind of a tough question. Really, it's something I hadn't even thought about. I don't know. I mean, we're pretty happy with where we are. I'm trying to think of, tag teams in WCW. First off.
Rey Mysterio and Juventud Guerrero, maybe?
Yeah, that'd be fun. Those guys, 3 count. Those are probably the top 2 I can think of. Being selfish off the top of my head. Not really. I mean, there's nobody's out there that we'd be dying to wrestle right now.
Have you ever seen tapes of Dragon Kid?
No, I haven't. I haven't. I've heard about him.
Yeah, he's as far as moves, he's got some really mind-blowing moves.
Right.
It still needs more experience, but I mean, he does this his Dragon Rana is that's one of the more spectacular moves in wrestling.
Right.
It's like he does a full flip like you're doing a 450, but not landing and then landing on the guy's shoulders, and then Hurricane Rana back in the other direction. It's quite amazing to see.
Definitely. That's definitely amazing. It's amazing to pull off. Takes 2 guys to do that, I'm sure.
Yeah. Tim, anything else?
Did you guys ever wrestle Dave Cash down in North Carolina? I know he was in NCW with you guys, but I didn't remember if you ever wrestled him or not.
We used to wrestle in a little promotion called NCW out in the mountains in North Carolina and down in Georgia. We worked with him some out there when he was still doing Dave Jericho.
Because he's really been putting on some great shows with ECW.
Excuse me?
Dave Cash has really been impressive in ECW. I couldn't remember if you had ever wrestled him or not.
I rarely get to see any ECW now. The things I've read about him, I've heard that he's been doing good stuff.
He's doing really well.
Good.
Yeah.
Were there ever any thoughts of either you or Jeff being in the Super Astros division when that was going, when Jeff was doing Will o' the Wisp? I know he never did that in WWF.
We were on one of the Super Astro shows. We actually worked. Who did we work there? Jesus and Papachulo. When it was on. No, they never really talked to us about being on there. I think they kind of, we came into WWF and just, we started slow, and I think they eventually wanted to kind of, mold us into something. They hoped that we would work out and, and we'd become a decent little tag team in WWF. I think that was kind of always the plan, and luckily that kind of happened.
Anything else, Tim?
Yeah, I was just wondering if he has any idea when their website's going to be back up.
No, I'm not sure. I'm not sure on the day. I'm sure they'll, eventually we'll have some sort of website up, some capacity. I'm not sure on the date, though.
The dreaded website question.
Right.
Okay, well, thanks a lot.
All right, man.
All right.
Okay, this is from someone who goes, he goes, are you a fan of Lucha Libre, and did you or Jeff ever think of wrestling in Mexico before you signed in the WWF?
Yeah, I can enjoy some of the stuff. I mean, I like stuff with psychology a lot better. Even though our stuff is still a lot more spiced up. I mean, I try and do stuff that has, that makes sense, that has some psychology behind it, but it's still a little spicier than the other guys, just because we're smaller anyway. I'm not a big fan of just, doing, move after move after move after move. Although, occasionally we're guilty of that. I like to try and put a little bit of fighting and realism and psychology in the matches.
Here is today's question: who was the first ever? So, get ready to log on. Who was the first ever World Wrestling Federation European champion? So, anyway, you can log on. We'll have our two winners momentarily. I think. Sometimes when I think that I'm so wrong, but I really think we will this time. Anyway, we're back with Matt Hardy, and we've got a full bank of phone calls, and we're going to go to Long Island. Helena and Daniela.
Hello. Hi.
Hey there. How you doing?
We're like 12, and we really idolize the Hardy Boys, and we wanted to know what they think about younger children who idolize them.
Well, that must be a heavy thing to think about.
Okay, yeah, I actually have that question. I like for children to idolize, especially not necessarily for the characters we portray on TV, for the people that Matt and Jeff Hardy really are. Because we're both, I think we're both really good people, and our whole story of how we got from, being kids with having dreams of being wrestlers to becoming wrestlers, I think is pretty inspirational. It's almost like a fairy tale.
Don't pick up because then we can't hear you.
I love, to take time out and get a chance to, talk with younger kids or, younger people trying to get in wrestling, whatever, and, try and give them a little inspiration or, the old feeling there's some light at the end of the tunnel. And I love being put in the position of kind of being a role model or, inspiration, and I don't feel bad about it at all. I mean, that's one of the, the benefiting factors, I think, that kind of come with my job, that I can do that and kind of give back a little bit. Especially a lot of people have helped me out, and a lot of people have inspired me and helped me, and I really appreciate it. And anything I can do to give that back, I will.
Do you ever have any qualms as far as storyline goes? Again, like with kids watching the show, and I mean, not so much lately, but certainly like a year ago. I mean, the storylines were at least borderline, if not over the border in some cases.
Right.
Actually, many cases maybe. I mean, do you ever have any qualms about like that? There's kind of like a weird dichotomy there because obviously WWF wrestling is the biggest thing, with young kids, and at the same time, it was very adult oriented entertainment in some aspects of it.
Right. I just so many people accept wrestling as entertainment now. I just wish that everybody could make the role models not the characters but the people that play them. Just like in soap operas. Don't necessarily the lady who cheats with every wife's husband on the show might be a really good person when you hear an interview with her off the show, and you could look up to her and that she could be your role model. I just wish people would look at wrestling more like that. But so many people still look at the character you're portraying and go, oh well, they're cool, I want to be like them. You know what I mean?
Hmm. We have a couple of questions along these same lines. So, what's the situation? There's no rumors of you or your brother dating Lita. That's not correct. That's just someone who you've known.
I mean, we're good friends, and especially her and I met her first, and we're even closer friends than her and Jeff are. But we're just all good friends, and neither one of us date her. That rumor's been her and I have been dating has been floating around forever.
What do you think as far as like you had a group of friends? I mean, what Shane Helms, Shannon Moore, and you and Jeff and Lita, and you kind of all grew up together in your backyard, I guess. And
yeah, well,
pretty much you.
I was just gonna say it expands a little more than that too. I mean, there's initially like we had a group like the little federation we started running. Eventually it became Omega, and those tapes they're pretty famous now. They trade quite a bit, like on the internet and stuff. It was the Organization of Modern Extreme Grappling Art. And in that federation it was myself, Jeff, Joy Abs, Jason Art,
right.
Shane Helms, who's still one of my best friends, Shannon Moore, a good friend of mine, Jeff, the Dubs, Mike, Mike Maverick, Mike Howell, and Murray Happer, who played the Dubs in ECW, who are with the WWF now. Both those guys wrestled there. Steve Carino wrestled with us some. Like I said, Lita came in, and she trained with the whole group, too. And also Joy Matthews and Christian York. I'm sure you're familiar with those two names.
Mm-hmm.
All those guys wrestled with us, and, we really had some good shows, as Omega with those guys, and everybody's really went on to do good things.
It's amazing because the percentage of people who start in wrestling that make it is actually very small, yet, you come from a group where, very high percentage have made it, and you're all, there's a lot of good in the future of a lot of you guys, depending on where you are and a couple of lucky breaks and things like that, but, so many of you have really made it.
Yeah, it's awesome, man. Like I said, in a lot of ways, I really feel fortunate because I look at our lives like a fairy tale almost. I couldn't have planned it out any better. It's been really good, and it's been a great ride, and I love it, and I hope I'm planning on continue to love it as time goes on.
Is there any reason that you could come up with as far as like so many, such high percentages? Just the fact that is it the area you were from, or just that you guys just were in your backyard training just so much that it accelerated your progress, like at a younger age, quicker than people who didn't have a ring in their backyard, I guess?
Yeah, well, I think a lot of it was just that we had so many people that were really that were so dedicated and that were just like hell bent on making it one way or the other. There were so many positive attitudes, which Shane Helms he thinks a lot like I do as far as that goes, as far as the way the wrestling business works and whatnot. And, just kind of when we all got together, we all kind of, fed off each other, and, we all, wanted to make it more. And whenever one of us would get a break, we'd kind of open the door for everybody else. And, if somebody else would get a break, we'd do whatever we could to help them, as far as that goes. And it was really a nice, mutual admiration society. And after Jeff and I got jobs, I actually got Joy Abs, helped get him looked at and got a job, and also the Dubs as well. Shannon and Shane too. I was actually trying to get something going on for those guys. They're actually a little smaller, and our cruiserweight division's not, they're not hiring people right and left for that as far as that goes. But they were able to, get a breakdown in WCW, so those guys ended up there, which bless their hearts, good for them.
Let's go to Mike in Florida. Mike, you're next up.
Hey, Matt Hardy. How you doing, brother?
Hey, man.
Hey, I think you and Jeff are the two best high flyers in all of wrestling today.
All right, thanks, dude.
And I got another question to ask you, Matt. When you and your brother do those stunts, are you afraid of falling the wrong way and, ending your career?
Not really while we're doing them. While we're out there, we just try and, we try not to think about it. We did the, I kind of do the thinking about it before we go out there and do it, and I hope I've got my plan together in my head. While we're out there and we're in the middle of doing stuff, we just kind of go and let it all hang out. So we really don't think about it there. There's times where I sit back and, I think, well, I need to be careful, and maybe I shouldn't try this later because it could be dangerous. And,
Hey, Dave, is something wrong with your mic? Because I can't really hear him that good.
No, everything should be all right.
All right.
Okay.
Hey, Dave.
Yes. Man, we think about the.
Let me finish. Okay, go ahead, Matt. Finish.
I was just gonna say, we realize there's some danger there, but while we're doing it, we try to take all the precautions we can and be as safe as possible, which might not be
Well, I wish you and your brother continued success.
Okay, thank you, man.
Okay, thanks very much. Let's go to, is it Dave in California?
Yeah, hey, Matt.
What's up, Dave?
I know your brother's wrestled over in Japan before. I was wondering if you've ever thought about going over there.
Yeah,
maybe wrestling Ken the Box sometime. You'd have a great match.
Yeah, actually, we were both going to go, as a tag team, right before we started with WWF, and we weren't able to go. And I was really looking forward to it. I'd love to have went, and, it'd probably be something I would love to do at least one time, to say I've done it.
Do you have any goal, do you have any goals as far as in the World Wrestling Federation of working a program with, I don't know, if just throwing out a name like a Chris Benoit or someone that you guys haven't really had a chance to wrestle, a lot with or even at all?
I'm glad, Chris Benoit's a name I'm glad you brought up. I had a chance to wrestle him, a couple months ago, and he was tremendous. And it was really just, the time I spent with him was a great learning experience. I've got, the utmost respect for, Chris Benoit. Also Eddie Guerrero. As well. I would love to have a chance to feel comfortable with those guys, work with them a few times and do something with Chris Benoit or Eddie Guerrero. And I'm sure eventually, if we run our course as a tag team and we split, maybe we'll get to do some of that stuff. I definitely think that's a possibility for, either Jeff or I.
What's your thoughts? What's your thoughts as far as being there? I guess as the whole thing was going down, first with the Steve Austin phenomenon and then with the Rock phenomenon, and just being like there every night while both of them, I guess, Austin, I guess, was already there when you got there, and then the Rock thing building. I think because there have been very few instances in wrestling, where guys, there have been very few guys in the history of wrestling ever to get to that level.
Right. It's just like you said, it's phenomenal. Just to see it night in and night out, and it's great to be on shows with those guys as far as the time that you're there and the time you're there making your living. And both those guys have been really cool. I think our whole roster, we've got a really good roster now as far as that goes, and I just think it's done so much for the business as far as now that it's opened up that it's there's entertainment. Because before when there was so much kayfabe going on in wrestling. It was almost like people said, "Oh, why are they trying to hide something? That sucks. I mean, just da 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 da." And then when they come out and say, "Well, this is entertainment," and watch it for entertainment, people go, "Well, this is kind of entertaining. This is fun. I like to just sit back and let myself go in for 2 hours and enjoy an episode of Raw." And that's done so much for the business, and that's helped. I think that's also helped out with the following that we've acquired, especially going mainstream, and that's led to the Stone Cold and Rock phenomenon as well.
David, is Dave still there? I guess
yeah.
Not. Okay, Dave, anything else, Dave?
No, that's it.
Okay. You brought something up. What do you think? I mean, because wrestling, one thing that's changed between these pay-per-views now and basically, even a few years ago, is that there's so much, I guess, feedback. I mean, it's a different kind of feedback than before. I mean, before if you had a good match and the crowd reacted loudly, that was your feedback. Now, I mean, it's there's a feedback after the fact. And does that inspire you? Because, I mean, one thing that I've noticed on pay-per-views is, between now and as compared with the 80s is, you have good matches and you have bad matches, but you never or almost rarely have matches that lack effort. Whereas in the 80s, you could see guys, on a card, and I think that the travel schedule was a lot tougher, and certainly in the WWF and in WCW. I mean, when those guys were working 6-7 nights a week, they were a lot of going through the motion type stuff. And now, you really, it's the crowds are harder because they've seen so much, but at the same time, I mean, it's you got a lot more. I mean, are you inspired by the fact that that if you do a good match, people kind of recognize a good match, whereas before maybe the boys would know it's a good match, but to the fans, sometimes they wouldn't even know a good match from a bad match, if you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think you point out to just the crowd being respectful. Yeah, absolutely, it's an inspiration. It's really inspiring, just like when we went out and I'll use the ladder match for an example. After Jeff had grabbed the money bag down and we had left, whenever Edge and Christian stood up in the ring, everybody in that building stood up and clapped. And just because we won, they forgot that fact already. What they were remembering is that 4 guys went out there and really busted their asses.
What's funny about that match is that, and compared with the Shawn Michaels Razor Ramon match, I think that everyone remembers that match, but who won and lost, your match with Edge and Christian, I don't think that. I mean, it's people remember, I guess, who won, but at the same time, it's hardly the main focus of the story. I just think we had a great match.
I agree. That's changed a lot. I mean, nowadays, somebody, someone I'll use for an example, if the Dudleys go out there, they can lose a match, but at the end of the match, if they put somebody through a table, that's what people remember. They don't even remember them, losing the match. They remember putting them through a table. It's almost been the way that people have, been programmed to watch, and, I think once again, it's kind of attributed to the fact that it's entertainment. And they realize everybody is human beings, and if you can go out there and put on a good effort and you leave them with a statement, they'll respect that in the end.
Do you ever get frustrated, on the other hand, where maybe you're out there and you're really working hard, and for whatever reason, maybe it's the wrong opponent or something like that, and the match is good and it's good, but maybe it's a cold match, and it's a TV taping and they're waiting for The Rock and they're just sitting on their hands, or does it not really bother you at all?
It does, yeah, sure it does. I mean, to get a complete feeling for a match, besides just going out in the match being good, you have to have a crowd there. That really makes the match as well. And it is frustrating to a degree, and it's just one of those things you have to accept. It's going to be there occasionally.
Do we have a trivia winner yet, by the way?
Al, do we have any trivia winners? Oh, we got him.
Oh.
Thank God. I don't know what questions we'd have to go to next.
Hey, Matt, if they split you up into, singles wrestlers and that sort of thing, and they actually made an effort to step up the cruiserweight division in the WWF, would you rather work in a division like that, where there'd probably be more high flyers, or have a go at the heavyweights?
I wouldn't be opposed to working in the cruiserweight division at all. But yeah, I would probably like to be, mixed in with everybody, more first and foremost. And I don't think being labeled as a cruiserweight is, a bad thing at all. I just think there's a lot more, there's a lot more potential if you're just kind of mixed in there with everyone, more than just being centered around a cruiserweight, cruiserweight type status. Which, like I'm saying, I'm not saying it's a bad thing and nothing I would be opposed against, but I would rather be in the mix with everyone.
Okay, we are getting a list to see. Ziggy Chris of California and Rick Royster of Tennessee correctly guessed that the first WWF European champion was Davey Boy Smith. And anyway, tomorrow on this show we're going to have Bruce Mitchell of Pro Wrestling Torch, and I wonder if we could keep this demographic for one more day. Think so? I didn't either. Anyway, let's go to Melanie in West Virginia. Melanie, you're up with Matt Hardy.
Hi. Matt, I have a question for you. Actually, you're going to get to settle a question that a friend of mine and I have. We were talking about this the other night, and basically what we would like to know, when you're doing something like, say, the Triangle Ladder match from WrestleMania, what goes through the process of putting a match like that together from the start to the finish and deciding, where the spots are going to happen?
Well, in actuality, we kind of, that match was, we had a lot of ideas for things that we wanted to do in that match, but actually we all got together just the night before WrestleMania and kind of sat down and mapped out a blueprint of what we want to do. It was just kind of a combination of all three teams sitting around and just throwing stuff out, and then we kind of start piecing stuff together, and we said, well, this is a really huge spot, and it's hard to fit it here and hard there, but it would fit better here. It's complicated doing stuff like that too, because it's hard to get as much chaos and destruction as we want to get out of that match, and try and make it make sense to a degree. It's nearly impossible to, but it's just kind of sitting down with all your ideas and just everybody getting together and trying to come into some sort of agreement on where things fit the best. I mean, there's no real secret plan to it. It's just just taking your ideas, whatever ideas you have, about particular spots, whether it be with a ladder or a table or a combination of two, whatever, and try and slowly make them progress and to the climax there. No real secret behind it, I guess. I would like to add too, for everyone who enjoyed that match, we're going to have a TLC, Tables, Ladders, and Chairs, a video featuring the Hardys, the Dudleys, and Christian Edge coming out August 22nd. I think it's also going to have the original ladder match and the table match, and also a lot of behind-the-scenes interview, and also a little behind-the-scenes footage of myself and Jeff, and maybe Christian Edge as well. It's going to be a videotape the WWF's releasing on August 22nd. It should be really good.
That's really good. Yeah. It's good to see, more guys getting, that type of, packaging and everything.
Yeah, because, like you said, 10 years ago, guys like us, middle guys never got anything like that.
Yeah. Let's go to Jeannie in Illinois. Jeannie, what's going on?
Just want to say, first of all, that I got to meet you and your brother in Houston, Texas at the end of March. And I want to say thanks for being so cool. But I just wondered if you ever get jealous of Jeff, because everybody seems to talk about him a lot more than you.
No, not really. Not at all. That's fine. I mean, people are always going to have that, people are always going to have their own opinions, and somebody with as much athletic ability as Jeff, and I will be the first to admit, Jeff athletically is amazing. I mean, he's definitely right along the lines of Shawn Michaels as far as athleticism goes. I mean, anything Jeff wants to do, he can do in a ring. And, it's awesome. He's smooth and he's graceful and everything he's got. But as far as me being jealous of him, that's, not the case at all. I mean, there's so many other things. If you could see, how if everyone could, be with us like day to day and see how much we kind of need each other as a team, it would really change a lot of people's perspectives. But, as far as, if we ever split one day, I'm sure we'll have something good there for a built-in angle. So, no, I don't at all. I'm proud. I'm proud of Jeff. Jeff's great, and I'm really happy, and I couldn't have a better tag team partner. And as long as people are talking, talking about Jeff, God bless them. I hope they continue.
Anything else, Jeannie?
No, that's it.
Okay, thank you very much.
Jeannie.
Matt, are there you've worked a lot with the Dudleys and all the tag teams actually, through the WWF. When we brought up Benoit and everything, are there people who you're sitting there going like, God, I wish I could get to work with, that, even whether it be The Rock or, any guys that you kind of like, if you could break away from the normal teams you're going against and have a program with two guys that maybe aren't a tag team that are usually wrestling singles, is there any ones that like pop into your head?
Right. Let me think of guys or easy combination of guys. Like you said, Jericho and Benoit, Guerrero, Hunter. I'm not even in the mode of thinking of like two guys. Just thinking of guys individually, like in any combination. Hunter's just been an awesome heel, and like he's been the MVP of the WWF as far as that goes. He's been tremendous. The Rock, obviously, just because anybody wants to get in there with the number one guy. It'd be nice to do something with Steve Austin. But from talent aspects, from a talent aspect, Chris Benoit, I could definitely learn a lot with somebody like him. A Guerrero, Malenko, Hunter, as far as that goes. Jeff and I, we're still, we would definitely admit, we're still learning a lot as time goes on. There's still several guys, those are some of the first names that popped in my head that I would love to get in the ring with.
Let's go to Tim in Florida. Tim, you're up with Matt Hardy.
Yeah, how you guys doing tonight? Matt, I got 2 or 3 questions for you. First, you and Jeff's match against Too Cole at the SmackDown tapings on 4th of July was a great match.
Thank you.
But anyway, out of all the matches that you've had, which a lot of people say you guys usually do have the best match of the night, but when matches do come to mind that I've seen of you guys is, of course, the WrestleMania match with Edge and Christian, the Dudleys. But out of the matches that you've had, Matt, what would you say is the best one? Does that rank up there?
Where does that one rank up there? Is that what you asked?
Yeah.
It's up there. I would still, my first and foremost match would be the first ladder match. And there was just, I think another reason there was so much, hype after that match, and there was so much build-up because at that time nobody really expected to do that, I don't think. And whenever we went out at WrestleMania, there was a little bit more expectation for us to have a great match. And, I think the WrestleMania match was really good. I'm really happy with it. I always will be. It just didn't, there wasn't as much hype and hoopla that followed after that match, which maybe, in my own personal opinion, devalued a little bit. But I think that the match was really great. And considering the WrestleMania crowd was real, the whole night they were they weren't really into things, real heavily. It was kind of a very it was a hard crowd at WrestleMania, and they were in our match. So I was happy about that. The table match that we had at the Royal Rumble, that's one of my favorite matches too. Going back, there's actually several I probably have to sit down and think of that really stand out. I know those do just because they were real original at the time, like the first, the tag team ladder match and the tag team table match. Those were just original first-run matches that nobody's really done to that point in time.
What are your thoughts as far as, like, looking back in time of some of the matches you did in Omega that, except for people who have, videos and stuff, that people, generally speaking, have never seen, and how they would rank up with your matches in the WWF now? Where have you improved, and where would maybe those matches, because in the main event you had a lot more time to do matches, where would they excel?
Sure. Actually, some of them are real high. Jeff is Will of the Wisp. We had such an ongoing feud, as Surge and Matt Hardy, Surge, and Jeff Hardy, Will of the Wisp, and we had some matches that I'll go back and look at, and I'll see spots here, and I'll go, hey, I got to break that back out, or hey, we need to do this, and they rank up there in the top 10, I'm sure. And, you know, there's a lot that we've learned since then. And, you know, it's almost hard to compare those matches to, like, you know, TV matches because they're just completely different now. You know, just like comparing a house show match to a TV match is just completely different, just because of time constraints. I mean, there's not, you know, TV, it's just hard to take time and go out and, you know, set your pace and tell a story. You know, where you can do that when you have plenty of time.
Do you find doing a lot of 3-man and 4-man tag teams more difficult, or have you done them so many times that it's just another night now?
They're a lot easier. I mean, they're getting a lot easier. They're more difficult though, just because you have to try and combine everybody. You know, the 3-man really, in all actuality, all parties involved, the Dudleys and you know, us and Edge and Christian, were a little worried about how the 3-way match would come off at WrestleMania because we thought, you know, it might really end up clustered. Just because with having 3 teams in there and trying to keep somebody busy at all times. And we avoided that to a degree, you know, which you just got, it just adds a lot more into the match that you kind of have to worry about.
Let's go to Mike in New York.
Right.
Mike, you're...
Dave?
Yes.
Oh, I just got one more.
Okay, go ahead.
Sorry about that. I wanted to say, Matt, I know that the tag team division, the WWF, is stronger than ever, which is great. But before that, and right now, what has been your most memorable feud, and who would you like to feud with that you haven't already, tag teams or singles?
In the WWF?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, we've almost, I don't know, really, I think we've almost feuded with everybody.
Yeah.
To a degree. You know, I mean, we haven't really, ever since we, you know, were with Michael Hayes, we had a million matches with, Too Cool, you know, back when they were too much, you know, it's the Hardy Boys, the Rocker Hardy Boys. But you know, I think we've almost, you know, really kind of worked a little deal with almost every tag team there is now. You know, there's, like I said, I think there's still a lot of legs with, you know, us and the Dudleys. Yeah, because we still almost had something, you know, going there after WrestleMania. It just kind of stopped. I think there's a lot left there somewhere.
Dave, I couldn't hear him too well. Could you tell me what he said?
No, he's talking about he thinks there's a lot of life left with them and the Dudleys.
Oh yeah, that's a great feud in itself. All right, well, thanks a lot very much, Matt. All right,
okay. Thanks a bunch, Tim. Let's go to Mike in New York. Mike.
Hey, good evening, guys. I got 2 questions. First one is, after seeing all the brutal matches that Mick Foley has gone through and the toll it's taken on him, are you worried with all the high spots that you guys do that your career is going to be shortened a bit?
Yeah, I think every wrestler is worried about, you know, what the future is going to hold for them. And, you know, the more you do as far as in terms of hot spot, I guess that, you know, makes you think about it even a little more. I mean, first off, I'd like to think, I mean, I try and keep myself in, you know, in good shape and, you know, possibly better shape than, you know, Mick Foley was for the stuff he was doing. And really, I've toned down my stuff to a degree from when we first started. I mean, I do stuff here and there. I try and kind of pick and choose. And Jeff, on the other hand, Jeff still is, you know, wide open. And I don't think really Jeff thinks about the future as far as, you know, him, you know, being, you know, hurt or cutting his career short or whatever. But I do think about that. You know, I want to preserve my body as long as possible and, you know, try and put my hot spots in the appropriate places and pick and choose.
Okay, anything else, Mike?
Yeah, I have a second question for Dave. Judging by your reputation and on your views and the star that you give per matches and match quality, do you feel that America's favorite food should be a taco or beef lo mein?
Well,
I actually don't understand that. I think I know what you're saying. Hey, am I still there? Am I still around? Okay. Okay, I'm sorry. Any other callers, or should we have some? Okay. Who's anybody next, or? Okay. All right. Let me just go through a couple quick emails here. Actually, most of these are pretty. Actually, there's almost exactly similar. This is from Dan from Surrey, British Columbia. And what's the megahertz moonsault?
It was it's a springboard, you know, just a springboard moonsault in the ring. It's what I used to do as my finish, is a surge. And
someone was asking, how come you don't do that move anymore?
Just because the ropes that, you know, in WWF are real ropes, and it's kind of it's almost being risky if you go out there midway through the night, the ropes are loose or real slick or whatever. I don't know. It's hardly not even worth taking the chance now because it might hurt the percentage of all the times I get it correct.
Brian brings this up all the time about the rings and everything. The ring, what stuff as far as the WWF ring itself, you brought up that. What other stuff as far as in the ring, the type of ring does that, keep you from doing and what moves do the WWF ring kind of help you do better?
And what kind of ropes do you have in Omega? Were they the real rope or
cable? We had cable ropes there, which I wish we had those in WWF. I mean, the WWF ropes are actually real ropes. And whenever they get loose, and they just make them shorter and tighten them back up. And after, there's 6 or 7 matches, if you go out there midway through Raw or SmackDown after there's been, heat and jacks and dark matches, I mean, the ropes start loosening up a lot and they're also slick. And I don't know that cable ropes are so much tighter and more stable. Jeff and I used to both do a lot of springboards, and it's very rare if we do that now just because it's not worth taking the chance.
And also, Dan asked Brian, Brian, what do you think of Tony Kozina?
Just haven't seen him in a long time, but real good high flyer. I think the only problem is he's just really small. Real small. So.
And this is for Matt here. What's your thoughts as far as Trish Stratus goes? As far as for the brief time she's really trained at wrestling, she seems to have a lot of willingness to take bumps, more than a lot of the women.
Yeah, she does. Actually, I don't think it was necessarily Trish's fault. When Trish first came into the WWF, she didn't understand how really the wrestling business worked at all. And it was kind of a rude awakening with her to a degree. But her attitude's really, got a lot better, and she started understanding, the way the wrestling business works, I think. And she's really willing to do whatever. And, obviously we've worked with Trish quite a bit now. And, I've worked with Trish, and just like, the stuff we've done the last few weeks, Trish has been really open-minded. She's been willing to learn, and anything we've really asked her to do, she's been willing to do it. So we have to give her the thumbs up on that. If she can continue to stay open-minded, I think she can go a long way. Because like you said, she's willing to take a bump, and she's willing to do stuff with her body, and that's what it takes. I mean, if you're a woman or any figure in wrestling now, you have to bump to be successful.
Or be very, very lucky and be in the right place at the right time. I mean, it's like there's always that rule, and then you always have people in wrestling, whether it be Jim Hellwig or Sable, who, for whatever reason, they made a huge amount of money just by being in the right place at the right time.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think that can be done now, though.
When I look at Rock and Steve Austin with all their charisma, the fact is that those guys didn't get by with half-ass matches.
Yeah, right.
Whereas, but there were guys that, it is harder, I think, because everyone judges things, and people I think that the fan recognition of a bad match is a lot bigger, in that like getting through that like Hulk Hogan type of thing. I think we've seen, as big as his name is, it doesn't cut it anymore.
Right.
Anyway, Matt, I want to thank you very much for doing the show and changing our demographic profile 180 degrees today, which was really cool.
Well, thanks for having me.
And best of luck in everything in your SummerSlam match back in Raleigh, and we'll be seeing you every Monday and Thursday.
Very good. Yeah, it's really exciting. Like I said, we're looking forward to SummerSlam. It should be good. Hopefully Matt and Jeff Hardy can do something special at SummerSlam. But thanks for having me, Dave.
Okay, you're very welcome.
All right, man. See you guys.